Welcome to the Post Float Podcast.
Very true.
Is it going? Is it going? Is this on?
Right.
How about you?
You know, I've done either way.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people, they hate the headphones.
You got to get used to the headphones a little bit, especially I can tell right now that you're monitoring from the computer.
Okay.
You're not monitoring the direct input from the interface.
See, and to me, that means nothing.
If you speak and listen real close,
You can hear that little echo.
there's just like maybe a 10 millisecond delay.
Is there a 10 millisecond delay? That's crazy. Your guys' ears are
There's just a slight disconnect from
sounds kind of like a phase.
right from the noises coming out of your mouth hole to the noises going into your ear holes.
That's a trip. You guys got experienced ear holes. Those ear holes have been used.
They've been used
And abused.
They've been used. Yeah, and honestly, too much.
Oh,
Too
boy.
much.
Oh, boy.
Speaking about orifices.
I think we're good. How's
Good.
everybody looking good?
Yeah, I feel good.
All right.
Cool.
I do like those SSDP stickers, Jesse.
Yeah, they are nice, aren't they?
Isn't that just a simple idea right there? It's just a simple idea.
Start making sense.
SSDP. You still don't know what they are when you see that sticker, but it makes you like, well, I'm going to go look this up.
What is SSDP?
Students for Sensible Drug Policies at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Actually, they're an international organization, but they're a chapter here now officially. We had Kai Johnson on here last week from their 20-year-old kid talking about legalizing marijuana.
The marijuanes.
Yes.
Shout out Kai Johnson.
Yeah.
We're rolling, by the way. We are just diving.
cool.
We're
Nice.
balls deep.
Dig it.
Balls deep in podcast.
Jumping right in.
Okay, so SSDP.
Yeah. It's, Students for Sensible Drug Policy.
Are you involved with it?
No. So I went to a comedy show. It was a psychedelic comedian, and he had a psychedelic scientist with him. It was at the Bourbon, and it was really awesome. His name was Shane Moss, and he was super, super funny. And he had contacted this kid from this local, chapter, and just it was really, really like last minute for him. He like kind of was like running out of time at his show, and just brought this kid up like last minute. And he said, "Yeah, the kid who happened to be Kai Johnson, got up on there." It was like it took a lot of guts to just get up there, just like, "Hey, where's that kid I talked to earlier? Come up on stage." And he just got up there and said his piece about the group that they have and how they're trying to collect signatures and to get it on the ballot for 2021.
Yeah, I thought it was 2021, and then a guy was in yesterday. He says the end of this year. We just need to Google it.
Yeah, I know. I can't Google things on the computer. And
We need to set that up too.
and record.
Right.
But yeah, it was really cool just to see that the university is backing this, and it's a legit group, and they're focused on education rather than just like legalize it, man.
Right.
Which is nice. Like it was
The
nice having
stereotypical culture that sometimes surrounds it.
Yeah,
Right. Unfortunately.
they're trying to bleed the two. I believe that's what the organization in general is obviously sensible, drug policies. But then Kai, obviously, he's the president of this chapter, which they just formulated in the fall of last year. So 2019 in the fall. So very new, literally at the point where we didn't even realize how new he was when we had him on the podcast. I was like, oh, okay, I'll dial some of this back.
Right.
But yeah, that's literally what they're trying to do is organize the message. Right now, it's very focused on getting these petitions up to X amount of signatures to get it on the ballot, which I don't think is going to be an issue.
Right.
There's enough people going to these concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was sold
Willie
out.
Nelson, he's coming to town, do things like that. So yeah, he's a good kid though, and like I said, 20 years old, blew my mind. Very well spoken.
Yeah.
But
that was the nice thing too. It was like he was sensible. Like, like the name.
Right.
yeah,
Well, that's always good to have, somebody representing the organization
Yeah.
that embodies that
100%.
organization. Kind of like you guys in Lost and Float.
He had like this Technicolor dream coat.
there's not enough other people doing it. It makes us look like we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
We're sensibly floating people.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How was your float,
Yeah,
Vince?
Vince Ruhl here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Producer Vince.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. We'll
Yes.
start with that.
Yeah.
Float was great. That's my third or fourth
Nice.
time floating.
Nice.
This time around, I was more or less just focusing on like muscle relax
Okay.
rather than a mental thing.
How are you doing that?
Well, I was reading some of your fine literature here on the table before I floated, and one of the things they were talking about was how there was some good science behind just how it made you feel with like pain, and so just certain aches and pains with the back that happen over time with just the pressure of gravity and being a human.
Yep.
It's a drag.
Quite literally, it's a drag. And there's nothing dragging when you're in a sensory deprivation chamber. So, yeah, just specifically, my left shoulder, it feels real nice right now.
Yeah.
So I think it was just
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't going to be making any sort of like mental breakthroughs during my hour-long float. Only being 4 in. But yeah, you do never know.
Yeah, it can happen at the oddest times. It's usually kind of hard to write pre-podcast float. It's a skill to be like, oh yeah, no, I'm floating, like just float, just be here.
Oh man.
Well, you mentioned that you had some things that you wanted to get off your mind, and then you go in and they are off your mind when you get out.
Yeah, they're gone.
How do you do that?
Honestly, there's multiple different techniques in my opinion of floating, and one of them being, like you said, muscle relaxation, recovery, things like that. I think it's more of a byproduct. So that's why I was curious. I've never mentally tried to, I'm so used to the tank just doing the tank's thing, and I just accept it. I don't like.
I don't think there's any other, like, you have to just accept
You
it.
just gotta accept it. It's one of those things too, where the world would be awesome if everybody just did things the way you want them to be done, right? Until you realize that's just nonsensical. It's a beautiful thing. Like, so in the float tank, what they talk about from muscle relaxation too is when your body goes into what's called the parasympathetic nervous state, which is basically you got the sympathetic nervous state, which is kind of that fight or flight reaction state. Parasympathetic's just rest and digestive. But what they're finding out is if you're in there long enough, eventually, yes, that muscle tension will release. And a lot of people don't understand too, like you have soft muscle tissue too, which is like your veins and arteries and things like that. So they dilate as well. So there's a lot of potential for recovery in that aspect. And then from my point, just going in there, I honestly kind of just had a whirlwind of a day. My kids were home, holiday, Martin Luther King, yada yada yada. Next thing I know, I'm late getting here, and then I just hop in the float, and I was like, oh, what do I want to do today? Last time I floated, I did an hours long, or I think it was 2 times ago. I just did an hour-long meditation. I had never really done that. Just hour-long, just focus on my breath. And then this time I get in there, and all of a sudden I just realize I'm just going through some shit, man. Just going through it, floating through it, thinking about it, realizing it's there, it doesn't need to be there, processing it, setting things aside that I could look at later that might need more, intentful thought, other stuff that's just literally nonsense. And it's just taking up space. And that's kind of one of the best things about floating is that primarily is my favorite way to float, is just going through that repository of shit that you haven't processed. Now, I don't have that big of a repository. We float quite often. But I think most people have, thousands of unread email messages in their internal inbox. And you float enough times and you go through those and they're gone. So me, I think I had about a week's worth of just junk in there that I hadn't had time at home. And it was just there, so I just went through it. Just don't set things aside that maybe I'll focus on later, or maybe I'll take a whole entire float to focus on. That's fun. I love having a very intent float as well.
I tried that today.
Did you?
Tried. I was like, oh yeah, because today was a great example for me of like the difference between intention and expectation. Like never have an expectation. So
Yeah.
I do. Fortunately, I learned that lesson a long time ago to not expect anything in the tank. Just how you can have an intention. Like I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna work on something today. I was like, I'm gonna, try to. Plan out this week, prepare myself to get back after it. I was, sick all last week, I've just been really lazy, haven't been working out. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to work out on Wednesday, and I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to, start thinking about how I'm going to and then I woke up. I was just like, and
I didn't do it.
I splashed
awesome.
water right in my eye. I got to get out and get the water out. Yeah, it was got nothing done.
So what's interesting about you is I think, and you have floated so many times that I don't even think you realize it. to be able to say that you have some sort of a filing system that you can manage internally. I think for the first time, if somebody first hops in the float and their thoughts are flying around like that, there's no file system.
Right.
Things are just like around. And
I couldn't agree with
now
you more.
you have like a Gmail. And you can go through and like sort things, which is kind of amazing.
It's weird though, because it's not like a separate folder, right? Where I can just it's gonna go in here. This is this Vince folder, or this is this folder, or this is shit I need to do later folder. It's still a very visceral response. It's very undefinable, ineffable feeling of chaos, and all it is it's just keeping one foot in chaos, keeping one foot kind of in order, and that's the trick to it all. It's literally what everything's predicated on, from the yin yang to anything, the warrior's path. And so that's all it is. I mean, if you thought, if you were in your next float and you're like, okay, I got all this shit going on, I'm gonna do what Levi does, and I'm gonna put in this filing cabinet, like, fuck, I can't find that filing cabinet, where's this filing, there's gotta be, you're gonna go nuts, because I don't have one either. All I have is the ability to kind of maintain that central thesis, where if I don't go so far, if I start bumping into a wall, I feel it and I know it and I can correct myself. That's all it is. That's the filing cabinet. It's just one giant stream. Okay. And if you go too far on one side, you're going to start rubbing against, the shoreline or whatever. If you go into the rapids, it's just, I don't know, man. It just kind of allows you to stay in that stream and realize that even though you have this feeling of panic, if you have all this stuff, I don't know, who fucking cares? You just did something pretty incredible. You just realize you have this thing. It might be worth looking into later. Cool. Maybe not. Maybe don't do it now. Don't force it. Don't not force it. Just fucking be here. That thought came, it left. Wow. That's great. What's next? That's it. That's the filing cabinet. I think the biggest thing is once you try to articulate it after the float, it sounds like it's very organized and very thought out. But it's not. It's an experience, like you guys were talking about before we got going, or maybe we were going about your ear holes being so experienced to music. You put yourself in a situation enough times, you're going to pull things away from it. And I don't think there's a book almost on anything that's like, this is the book you read to do this. This is the book you read to do that. It's just time, experience.
Yeah, I remember like kind of my first float where like I pretended that like my consciousness was a desktop screen, and like all my thoughts coming in were like folders, or I was like, I would like create folders for like the thoughts. I was just like, okay,
it's like the old Windows screensaver where they're just flying around at you.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
And it's just trying to organize that chaos. It sounds much more organized afterwards,
Right? It's completely disorganized.
In the moment, it's just like whoosh, like.
But that's life, right? That's literally life and everything. Like I honest to God, last night I played the game of life. You guys remember that game?
Oh yeah.
The board game.
Oh yeah.
Played with my 6-year-old and my mother-in-law and my wife, and God damn, it's a complicated game, right? And you're like, "Wow, it's
your 6-year-old win?"
Yeah. So I think she beat me, but but still, it's just it's such an interesting thing, because that is life. Life in general doesn't stop. There's no pause button. Nobody cares if your best friend just died, or your wife, or you just lost your job. It just doesn't work that way, right? And it never will. And I wish there was these giant pause buttons. I use that analogy all the time. I just want to fucking hit this pause button, just stop. I need to get some shit. You're not going to catch up. Even if that pause button exists, you're not going to catch up.
Yep.
So just get comfortable with the uncomfortable and figure out what you need to do. For me, it's floating, exercise, and things like that, where I can keep one foot in chaos, one foot in order. And if I go too far one way or the other, I know it.
Got to balance back out.
Before we go too much further down the rabbit hole of weird Levi shit, credit we got to give credit where credit's due, because I was thinking about this in the float tank too. So Jesse and I always want to do a podcast ever since we met each other, but we didn't think it would ever happen. And then when we came to your house to do your guys' podcast, you're like, well, dude, just float and then do a podcast.
And you were like, call it the Post Float Podcast. So yeah, thank you to Vince here for the Post Float Podcast.
If it wasn't for Vince, we wouldn't even have the Post Float Podcast.
Happy to throw that idea out there.
Oh, dude,
glad you guys caught it.
Well, we were so worried about. We wanted to separate the two worlds. I didn't want to have Lost and Float associated with us talking nonsense, but like I said, at the end of this is life.
Like you said, also, like it's a part of you.
It is. Yeah.
So,
it is. It might just be the
separate the
unmarketable part, right? Like, and that's the thing. It's kind of cool to come into something without the conditionalities that you come into everything with. I'm not saying I have, but it's a cool thing to flirt with, man, because it's real and it's life, and this is me. And I might not, be what you were hoping it would be, that you're going to come and then buy my product.
Sure.
You know, that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is just a cool opportunity to sit down for an hour or however long and shoot the shit.
Sure.
Right.
That's it. There's no real means to the ends with it, except for you don't get too many opportunities to do that, especially when you get busy with life, you get older, you get kids and everything else. So this is just fucking fun for me. But it is a reflection, you know, even if maybe at kind of a, not a direct reflection, but of a refraction. You know?
Right.
Some of it's indicative of the business. And that was the tricky part. But when you said, hey man, you float and then you podcast and nobody else can do that, I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
That's
Nobody
it.
else can do that.
Dude, that's like,
And honestly, you know, I think nowadays people want that more, original, but this kind of open form podcast platform is what people are into,
For sure.
you know.
Yeah.
And when you say it's not marketable, well, you know, marketing is all a matter of your target audience. So who are you trying to market to?
That's the thing, is I'm
people
a
who
big
like
dummy.
you.
Yeah.
You know, I like you. That's what I'm doing. You got me with your marketing, man. Just that big net.
it's,
Yeah.
it's a novel experience, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so we got like a niche on that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
Nobody else is going to be doing
And-
that anytime soon.
Honestly, if you want to be like the most badass podcaster in the world, the last thing you want to do is float right before your podcast play.
oh, dude, it's so hard to do this because it's just like,
You're reactivating your brain. You're like, oh yeah, nothing fucking matters. You know, this is just my consciousness isn't attached to me. Maybe I don't know what's going on. It's just life. And then you're like, oh hey, dude, you need to do responsible things.
yeah,
and
it's like
make
every time we
some-
get out, we're like, do you want a podcast? Not really. Let's just hang out.
But that's what it is though,
Okay, I'll
because
hit record.
the truth be told, man, that's what we end up doing. We end up just hanging out. We're fucking the worst podcast hosts in the world, and
Right? Yeah, we
We'll
haven't
just
even
do
introduced Vince yet.
I know.
This
Go-
is
oh, you
Vince
did.
Ruhl.
You did.
This is producer Vince. I mean,
Yes,
you
go ahead.
You started the Basement Creators Network. Without you, man, like we wouldn't have the damn Basement Creators. Like that's a huge thing for in my life.
Well, thank you.
It's a very big deal. I don't know if you know that. Like, I mean, so how many bands? So I'm all over the place with this, dude.
Okay, that's all right. Let's
set
let's
this
hop
up.
in the tank and organize.
we'll be right back.
Let's set this up. Yeah. So I mean, you don't only do the Basement Creators. You also produced the Nebraska Beer 30 podcast. We had Grady on here. You
Yep.
do Science with Friends with
Yep.
Bradley Nordell. We need to get that guy on here.
Yeah.
Well, do you
most
do any other
definitely.
podcasts aside from your new gig? Well, I want to hear about as well.
I also do a podcast called Lincoln, which is the Leadership Lincoln's podcast with Randy Bretz and Marilyn Moore.
Ooh, I will have to check that out.
That one we're trying, like, I don't do any sort of like their production side of things. I literally just show up and I help them record and I do the editing and whatnot. As far as like booking guests and all that kind of stuff, even like distributing and whatnot, I don't really help too much with that. I think we could probably do it better. So there's always part of me that's like, we got to do it better, guys. Come on.
That's the fun part.
Because I mean, he brings on some heavy hitters. Like we've had both the mayors on the podcast. Like anybody who's making moves in Lincoln, and you know, kind of shaping the city into what it's becoming and
that's
what it
awesome.
is, has been through that podcast.
And it's called Lincoln.
It's called Lincoln.
Oh yeah, I'm glad. See, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Randy Bretz used to be the curator of TEDx Lincoln.
Okay.
So he's kind of in the know with a lot of people, very influential people. And then Marilyn Moore, she was an educator for many years. She even has a school named after her here in town. So, I mean, two really great people in general, and they have some great conversations. So that's what they do.
Very cool.
But like I said, I kind of just do the editing for that, and it's a very small time commitment on my end.
Well, you got your fingers in a lot of pies. So.
I do, and you know that's pros and cons to that.
Right.
Well, so what are you most interested in right now? Which finger in which pie?
Well, I would definitely say probably the coffee roaster first, BCN.
Not to mention you own the coffee roaster.
Yeah, yep.
Jeez.
My wife and I run the coffee roaster. Yep. So I suppose the coffee roaster has to come first, just because it literally pays the bills.
Right.
Shout out coffee roaster.
Shout out to the coffee roaster. Yep. If you're into coffee, hit me up. 50th and Old Cheney. And then BCN. And then my new gig is KZUM. So
Yeah,
I'm now a board member on KZUM. And so I'm kind of just learning the ropes in regards to that.
Okay.
And it was just an opportunity that presented itself that I wanted to see if I, for one, could get elected. And
You're right.
I was.
Wow.
And now I'm kind of just learning the ropes and kind of understanding what it's all about.
Man.
So what does the board consist of in totality?
Well, it's people.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah. You got human beings in there.
right. Some people.
Thank God.
So is this board indicative of KZUM as a whole?
Yes.
Okay. And then how many board members?
There are, I want to say 10.
Okay.
Maybe more. I don't know exactly the number off my head.
And just a standard board member from president to secretary to all that good stuff.
Yep.
So
And
what's
they
your
have-
role on this board?
So my role on this board currently is new board member.
Okay.
I don't have any sort of like committee head positions, and I don't necessarily want them.
Right. You said you're just
I want
soaking it in.
Yeah, I want to soak it in. And I've said this, to them. I'm not somebody who actually listens to a lot of radio,
Mm-hmm.
but I listen to a ton of podcasts.
Yeah.
And one thing that KZUM is trying to do is create essentially a podcast network.
Oh yeah.
And they have already, I believe, 10, if not more, podcasts that they put out.
Okay.
And so I've spoken to some other people about just board work in general who no relation to KZUM or anything. And they just said, kind of don't go in there trying to change everything. Just go in there, be yourself, and contribute to things that you're comfortable contributing to.
That makes sense.
Oh, that sounds like I got the right man for the job.
Yeah. My thought is if there's something happening with like the programmers or the on-air stuff, it's like I'm happy to give my opinion towards that and do whatever I need to do in order to, fix problems or whatnot. But my focus and my passion will definitely probably be the podcasts and helping them kind of elevate that. Because
cool.
again, I mean, I was listening to one the other day, and I mean, they're just some amazing people.
That's cool.
Specifically hyper-focused in Lincoln. And it's wild to learn more about everybody, just the citizens that we're surrounded with, the community.
Nice, man.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. And so even when we started this podcast, or you guys started your podcast, you didn't even know that these other ones existed. And there is no real overarching bullhorn. There's no conduit into the soul of this city. And I think that's probably because maybe I'm just guilty of this, but I've always looked outside of Lincoln, living in Lincoln. And I quit doing that some time ago, especially when I started having kids, things like that. You change your viewpoint. But we do have the opportunity, we have the potential to we have a pretty amazing place, right?
Incredible.
I mean, it just from where we sit in the position we are, we're so different than anything else. We have the potential for so much opportunity, so much growth. And yet you don't get that from, like you said, like listening to public radio or not, just from the wrong avenues. And these open forum podcasts are where it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
And they need to have people that have brains like you and things like that, because it's great. You can have the best band in the world that nobody knows about. You can have all these things. It's happened a million times. It's probably happening all the time. But Lincoln's not that big. There can be a conduit. And right now, the only thing that seems to be available is social media, which is unfortunate. Nothing against social media. It's an unfortunate platform because it's the only thing. There's it used to be billboards, radio. Everyone listens to that.
Well, it's also extremely like singular.
It's very singular. That's a better way to describe it.
What do you mean by that?
Social media.
Snag one of these.
Please. Cold beverages. Shout out to Nebraska Beer 30.
Can't have
Yes,
it, man.
sir.
Ooh, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Shout
are
out
a
to
couple
Beer
options
30.
in there.
Look at these lovely guys. You want a pale
Give me the
ale?
one you don't want.
Oh man, no, you can. Look at this.
There's plenty
He
in
doesn't
there.
fuck around, man. He's gonna change the
Like I
world
said.
here.
Oh.
I said I'm not going to drink all these myself, so I just threw them all into.
Just don't pull a Grady and spill it.
Okay, I will
This
not
is
do
real
that.
zebra fucking fur, man.
Oh man,
Yeah,
poor zebra.
I had to float on like 6 times to get over that. That filing cabinet wasn't working for shit. All right, sorry about that.
Oh no, you're fine.
So Levi, you said something there. Cheers here, fellas.
Oh yeah, cheers, brother. Cheers, Vince.
You said something there that I think you hit something really good.
What's up?
You said there's no conduit to the soul of our city here in Lincoln.
Maybe there is,
But I think stuff that you're doing, Vince, is like laying down the framework for that.
that's where I was going with this.
Like the with the basement creators and and everything.
Well, and
like,
I'm not alone in that. Like KZUM, for instance,
And
has
KZUM,
been
yeah.
a conduit, if that's
They-
what we're going to
yeah.
call it, for many years.
I've been the closest thing, right?
But their target market is Lincoln.
Okay, yeah, for
You
sure,
know.
and it has to be,
And
right?
I don't think so anymore. Not at all, actually. And the reason their target market was Lincoln is because they were on the radio.
Okay.
And their radio transmitters could only go a certain distance.
Ooh.
And
'Cause now they're global.
Now we're global.
That's a good point.
And the podcasting side of things, to me, gets me excited because here's this incredible, KZUM specific, here's this incredible community radio station who now has the ability to create platforms and podcasts that reach far beyond Lincoln's radio waves, like Lincoln's systems. So I like to look at it as if all these little things that's happening, and this podcast included, are droplets of water. And in my opinion, Lincoln is going to get discovered when we put all those droplets of water together and we create a pond, and then continue to grow that to where it's so obvious that you can't help but see what's happening here.
Right.
And this is not something like, I'm not recreating the wheel by any means. California has done this, for instance.
Yeah.
Hollywood,
Okay.
Hollywood is a giant ocean of entertainment content.
Yeah.
And it happens there, and they have figured out a way to essentially own that. And not saying that Lincoln should become Hollywood,
Right. I get your
but
point.
I think that we can create content and show people what's happening here. We just need to do it together, and we need to do it at the same time.
Gotta get organized.
I
Right.
agree with that. I do, and that I think that's the next conversation. How that conversation starts, who actually starts the language that is presented in that conversation, I think is very important. I think building a platform and a framework is very awesome, but anything that's subjective to ideology always needs to be maintained through some type of language orientated thought. And I think we have such a cool opportunity here. Is unlike California, unlike the East Coast, I mean, they're basically seeing how it pans out right then and there. We don't have to do that. We get to watch and be like, that didn't fucking work out too well. Oh, that's here now? Okay, we've seen this play out. We actually get that weird second chance opportunity kind of being in the Midwest that
Sure.
I find to be really advantageous and very kind of special. Where if you do live on the East Coast, you're immediately inundated in this thing before you can even fucking step back. Like, what are we doing? Why am I involved in this? Why does it matter? Does it matter? What is the real drive? What's the motivation? What's the factors behind this? What I think is interesting about here is we have the time and the ability to just watch the rolling clouds, to watch whatever it is. If you're going to see those droplets coming down, we've seen these droplets and then we've seen what kind of puddles they form. We've seen what kind of lakes they form, oceans they form, other places. And we can take and pick and choose what we think is viable to building a better community versus what we see might happen that could, turn into a flood or a fucking mudslide or whatever it is. And that's what I think is really interesting, but I also think it's very confusing because what does that mean?
There's definitely pros and cons to it because, the biggest con is self-doubt. And that was something
That's a good point.
With BCN for the longest time, we didn't want to start because we constantly doubted ourselves to be like, what is this thing going to be? Are we doing this correctly and whatnot? And finally I told Charlie, who's the camera guy and the video editor.
Shout out Charlie.
Yeah, shout out to Charlie Morris. I said, look, dude, we're going live next week, and we're going live every week after that, and we're going to find bands, and we're going to drag them into this basement, and it's just going to happen.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, and it was worth it.
And,
But those are the simple thoughts that I think yeah, there's pros and cons, and the con being, comparison's the death of joy.
Ooh, yeah.
But we're not idiots, man. You know what I mean? There's enough intelligent people here who can step back and remove themselves from, just being a cog inside this fucking wheel and look back and be like, no, I'm not going to compare myself to Hollywood or other bands or other producers. I'm not going to have these MTV's night, next week. I'm just going to fucking do what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as my happiness doesn't infringe on somebody else's happiness, we're going fucking live next week and it's going to be okay. All right? And we're going to learn from that.
Yes and no. There were some things, and this is, if you get into the weeds, it's like, okay, now we got to figure out the legality of what we're doing.
For sure.
And all that kind of stuff.
But those are
where
all
it's
learning
like,
experiences.
Learning experiences for sure.
I've stepped on a million of those landmines already.
Yeah.
Haven't got sued yet.
And I suppose that's one of those things where it's like you don't know what's coming next.
True.
Which is, who knows if what we're building here is a mudslide.
Right. Well,
know?
That's the thing, though. What I'm saying is, it could be a mudslide, but it's not gonna just be devastating.
You're not in the mudslide when you started.
Right, exactly. It's gonna be okay. We'll have you can hit the brakes. You can have conversations where sometimes a conversation can't even be had because things are so inundated, so just a part of a. I hate to call it a culture or anything like that because it hasn't been looked at for so long that it's just a thing. And speaking of, we had Kai on here from Sensible Drug Policies at UNL the other day. That's a thing in the Midwest. That wouldn't be a thing somewhere else. But we have time now to dissect and then reorganize into it because everybody kind of knows what they like. I think everybody kind of has an vision of what you like. Obviously, somebody like you with Basement Creators and doing productions and things like that, you know what you're into. You like music. You like things like that. You like art. You like other people's creativity, I'm assuming, and you think...
Oh, shit, yeah, you play drums in a band, too, man. You got a lot of hats that you wear, Vince.
I got a Twitch channel, too.
I saw that. You started doing that.
We're so behind. I don't even know what
man.
Twitch is.
Twitch,
I did that in the tank earlier.
You twitched? I TikToked. Oh, fuck, man.
Oh,
We
you got a
it all here
TikTok
at
yet
Lost
there?
and Float.
Twitch in the tank would not be a bad idea.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Isn't Twitch what most people are using for video game sharing?
Is that what you're doing on there?
Yep. So Twitch is a very interesting platform because it's entirely focused on live streaming.
Okay.
And a lot of it, there's no clips that you can go through and just watch again. When you go to the Twitch's homepage, it's live. Whoever's live right now is the channels that you're getting introduced to.
Okay.
So it's kind of, if you want to think of it, the URL is twitch.tv.
Okay.
And it's like turning on your TV.
Yeah, it's like they got rid of DVR or something.
Yep. And everybody has a channel.
Yeah.
And so you can scroll through channels, and it is hyper marketed towards gamers.
Okay.
But there are a few people on there who do different things. And so I watched a few drummers, and I loved what they were doing. So I kind of I didn't necessarily copy exactly what they were doing, but the fact of the matter is, I'm going to practice my drums. And normally when I practice drums, I'm going to just turn on songs and I'm going to play to them. Well, now when I practice my drums, I can flip on my Twitch channel and go live. And I have this really cool thing built in that people can actually request songs to me.
Cool.
So they just do !SR and then the YouTube link, and it throws it up into a queue that I see.
What?
And I can go and I can listen and jam around to song requests.
You got to get on there.
That is crazy.
That's rad.
So, and it's actually a lot of fun. Charlie was jamming with me the other day because I've got enough space for somebody to hop on, and it's my second stream. And there are people from the UK who are, it's 3:00 in the morning. And they're like, oh, I should be in bed, but I saw you were streaming. So
thought I'd hang with you, man.
I was like, what?
Cheers, mate.
And so, that right there, if that isn't the embodiment of what I was saying earlier, to where we don't need to focus on the market being hyper local.
Right.
We can serve our local community by creating content for people within the community.
Mm-hmm.
But the market that we, should be aiming towards with people consuming said content should not be specifically here.
Couldn't agree with that more. I should have
man.
been more specific what I was saying, too, because that's exactly what I mean. The supply should be able to go wherever it goes. Interstate commerce, enjoy. But we also need to have the demand capability of coming from here. For example, like if you have an incubator, I think I use this example all the time, but somebody making cricket food that has the best protein in the world.
Sure.
He finishes his incubator here. He's not sticking around because that supply and demand it sometimes is localized. But what would be cool is like, why can't he be here and generate and get and supply that demand
from
wherever
here.
the fuck they want, but from here,
Right.
And then keep that brain here, keep those ideas here, keep the that momentum here to get the next guy who makes grasshoppers taste even better.
Why do you think people leave?
I don't know.
Grass is
I think
greener.
that's a very varied conversation nuance. I think right off the bat, my very first thought is just monetary incentive, the ability to actually have the investors or et cetera that might be or are interested in that because there are conduits in other places. And so that'd be my number one thing is like, you want to get this thing off the ground. This probably isn't always the best place unless you have the opportunity to be like, hey, this guy's out there. That lady's out there. These people are here. Not everybody knows that, Lincoln. Like I'm just surviving every day, with kids and a business and everything else and just kind of being the fucking weirdo I am where I'm not plugged into everything. I'm just not. And so maybe there are streams where you can just find these people, but I don't see them. I actively don't seek them, but I'm assuming you could go somewhere else and find it a lot easier. So that would be, I would say, my number one reason. And then there's all the other bullshit too about, people are seeking happiness and the grass is always greener.
Yeah, that was my first thought. Was grass is always green.
Yeah, I knew we always fuck up and go the philosophy route and just we were just farting on the couch over here. But I would say that more than likely the kid who's doing well and has an entrepreneur spirit and everything else is going to seek more opportunities where those opportunities are. And I would assume those opportunities are usually monetary and investor related in the
I
beginning.
don't know, man. I think you got something going here, Vince.
I feel
that's what I
feel
want
like
this
that's
to
just
be.
a perception of location.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, 100%. But that perception can be real because
It can also be changed.
Yes.
Like you don't have to.
I'm not saying it's a bad. I'm not saying it can't be changed.
FaceTime that
I
investor
want to change it.
Right?
That's what I want. I also want a culture that allows you to be sovereign over your ideas, to be able to pursue certain things. And we're not always one of those cultures. I think we can be. I think everybody knows where we are going. I think it's just a ping pong game that makes it take a long time. But just like the Farm Bill passed last year, we're going to have Nebraska, farmers growing hemp and things like that are going to change. It's going to adjust the agricultural landscape. But we need to make sure that these long form, open form discussions, definitely not me and Jesse, but like people who know what the hell they're talking about on LinkedIn and things like that can have actual conversations, real conversations that aren't sound clips, that aren't, somebody else trying to make money off of their idea, having this person on and, sound biting it and, to their constituents or whoever's watching what their content is. I think this open forum, everything, whether it's music or just making silly putty for an hour on a fucking TV show, it all has potential. I just want to know where is it that most people want the change to be, and what is that change? What are they looking for? Mine seems to be, and maybe I'm wrong, is there is no bullhorn. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just saying it's not obvious yet.
Sure.
That's my first one. Like, create the bullhorn, but then what comes out of it? What do people want to hear? And what do you want to hear? And are you just trying to create content that are for what you think the people want to hear?
Sure.
You get what I'm saying? So the artist, the creativity, and then turning that into a monetarily advantageous life for yourself. That's I think if you can take creativity, especially your own art, your own creativity, and play the game with it, there you go.
Win-win, man.
You know what I mean? That's what it is, and I want more people to be able to do that.
I don't disagree with any of that, I don't think.
If I say like 38 more words in different ways and get
We just complicate
Yeah. I'm not super business oriented either, so
No, and I'm not necessarily either. I'm more of like the idea. Like my wife Sam is just she's incredible. She has the ability, like when we're talking about the file system, like do you guys keep journals? Do you keep notes? Do you keep to-do lists? Do you like I'm trying to work on that. And I'm terrible at it. I'm just awful. And she's not. She's great. She's got this new thing called a bullet journal. And essentially what is an empty journal that you turn into your own planner. And there's like a whole community behind it to where you can draw all these nice fancy things. You can keep it as minimal as you like, but it's essentially a planner that it's your own mind going into what it is that you need to plan your life, whether that you want a to-do list here or whether you want like, hey, I'm going to dedicate this page to a collection of books that I should read or movies that I should watch, or I'm going to dedicate this page to being my chore list, or I'm going to dedicate this page to being January 2020, and then all the pages following it is going to be my daily task. You're literally creating this planner from thin air.
From journaling.
Yeah. And it's
a great idea.
It's a fantastic idea, and I'm going to continue to push myself to do it. Just been a lot of fog in the mind as far as like getting all those thoughts out on paper, because that's just not something that I've never done it. I didn't grow up doing it. I don't know if she grew up doing it. I'm not quite sure, but if she didn't, she figured it out pretty quick. Did you guys do anything like that?
I've always sucked ass at trying to journal, man. I get there and I'm just like, what the fuck should I write? This doesn't sound good enough. Like, it's just like,
dude, that makes me feel so good. Hearing that you also struggle.
It's the worst thing ever.
Here's what should make you feel better. And maybe I'm fucking wrong, but I'll come out and say it like I know what the hell I'm talking about. Everybody actually sucks at it.
Yeah.
Your wife sucks at it. Everybody sucks at
I
it.
don't know,
I'm just
man.
saying in a way,
Dude,
right?
I think you might be wrong.
Because you would be comparing yourself to your wife's journaling. I.e.,
True.
you suck compared to your wife. Ooh. Now, if your wife is comparing herself to somebody else's journaling, she's going to suck compared to that journaling. So everybody sucks at journaling. So my thing about journaling, I don't even know if Jesse knows. Every morning I come in here, I pull up a Word document, I start journaling.
I didn't know that.
Really?
On what I want to kind of do. Because by the time I come in this door at 9:30, I feel like I fucking should have started 3 hours ago, but I can't.
So here's the question. Do you think that it would be more beneficial to your mind if you started to do that on pen and paper?
I think it would be more beneficial for my mind if I got up a half an hour earlier every morning and I started doing it on pen and paper. But here's the most beneficial part. You can't suck. There's no suck. It doesn't exist. There's no fucking such thing. It's literally just putting a pen to a piece of paper and just fucking going. And if you're going at it with the intent that you're supposed to come up with some radical idea or some awesome drawing or this new song lyric or whatever, by the end of it, you're not, in my opinion, you're not doing it.
Right.
The idea is just to sit down and start just vomiting on a page. And by the time you get in the shower, you have already went through your filing cabinet like we just kind of did in the float tank. You've already had a taste of that. You go in the shower and you're already kind of predetermined on what rest of the path of your day. Now, if I was a fucking dedicated, disciplined man, that's what I would do. But I have wood floors.
Disciplined man.
Wood floors? What does that mean?
I'll get to the point. So we move into this new house and I can't fucking get up before my kids now. It's impossible.
I got creaky floors.
You have wood floors.
And they sleep like me and my wife each sleep with a kid each night. I'm in either the bed with one daughter or the other daughter. That's just the age we're at right now. And so I lay there and I'm like,
got to buy yourself a hoverboard, man.
I'm fucking just kind of trying to sneak out, and then because I like to go do my meditation before they get up, and it's getting harder and harder to get out of bed before they do so. I need to figure something out, and what that is I'm just gonna have to start making them sleep by themselves. But it's difficult, man. So I think I know this is kind of digressing a little bit, but all these conversations mean
it's not. I don't know where we started, so we're good.
So wait, it's just been consistently digressing.
Right.
I'm gonna digress more during the digression.
I had no idea you journal. Who are you?
I'm Levi. This guy. I'm just a fucking clueless dude. That's what I am. But I do. I pull up a Word document every morning I get here and I just start typing out, because the fucking hilarious thing is, like I said, I get here every morning, right? I take my kids to school. I do all that stuff. And I have the ability to do that. It's beautiful. But I don't, and it's very important to me, so I can try to value orient it with my balanced life.
That's the office work you're doing while I'm doing the real work.
Right. You're back there breaking a sweat, and he's just like, today.
It's just it's the shittiest feeling. So my journals aren't like,
smelled like a rose.
I walked in and said hi to Jesse. And like always, he wasn't doing a fucking thing. But no, it's really, it's this weird feeling that your brain has that we're supposed to be these uber productive beings and we want to be great parents, we want to be great husbands, we want to be fucking great everything, and there's no such thing, and that's just going to create a constant form
But
of
here's the
suffrage.
thing. So you said a word there, productive.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I am trying to work at. So frankly, I get angry with myself for not being able to do this.
Right.
And so I'm going to continue to try.
Mm-hmm.
Do or
And
do
I
not.
want to be less busy and more productive.
Love these conversations all day long.
You know. And I think most people are there.
I also think that's the definition of you taking the time. I think one of the most productive things you can do to become more productive is stop and be with and like float. I obviously don't fucking float. Do whatever you want, man. But spend an hour by your goddamn self with,
Sure.
with your own
You should
thoughts.
float at Lost and Float here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
That's I couldn't be more honest about that.
Or use the Sam Harris meditation app.
Yeah, just
Or both.
just stop. I think if you want to get more done, do way fucking less. Swear
Yeah.
to God.
Dude, when I first met you, you said that. Do less better. And I was like,
Do less better is, I like that. I'm not wired for it.
well, yeah.
I just not.
Me
Nobody's
either.
wired
I
for
gotta
it.
I gotta do, man. If I see an issue, it's got to be. I got to figure out how to solve it. But then I also I have to make sure that I'm not, just getting busy trying
Spinning
to
the
solve it,
wheels.
but not being productive and actually solving the problem.
So what you said, super contradicting, because you agreed and disagreed simultaneously. And so imagine this, like, desire all you want, man. Go desire fucking crazy. Seriously, desire your ass off, suffer to the nth degree to fucking accomplish that goal. But if anything doesn't articulate with that desire, don't do it.
Right.
That's doing less better. It's that easy. You can't fucking desire for everything, Vince. It's not possible, man. You can't open your beer better than everybody in the world and put the tap in the exact right spot, and then journal about it the next day and then get everything else you're going to get accomplished. So my point about doing less better is literally choosing what you're willing to desire for. But you got to take the time to do that too. So there's steps to this process. First of all, what are you willing to desire for? That's an answer in and of itself, right? Okay, you got a pretty good idea on that. So you have this overarching desire. Then anything else that comes in, if it doesn't imbue itself into that overarching desire, be at peace with it. I know it sounds easier than it is, but it's a fucking skill anybody can learn. And that's what I think with like floating or just being by yourself. And then that desire, suffer for that, man. Dude, it suffers. That's what desire is. There's no happiness coming from that. That's what you suffer for. And then everything else you're just cool with. You just be at peace with it, man. And there's a real benefit to that, allowing you to do less much better.
One of the cool things about that the bullet journal is, there's a list of symbols that essentially that you write. Like the dot is your task, and once you finish the task, it's X'd out. If you haven't finished the task that day, it's like an arrow which migrates
Did
it to the
Sam
next
create this?
day. No.
Okay, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah,
This
right.
is getting intense.
Maybe she is better.
You're onto something.
Right. But then there's one thing, you just slash it out, and it doesn't matter.
I love it, dude.
Perfect. If
That's perfect.
It's a task that didn't need to
Fuck
be
it.
even in existence.
Yep.
You just cross it out.
Seriously, man.
The dishes.
Just,
Right.
just
Laundry.
Boy, I crossed out dishes for the first half of that entire year, and you look in your kitchen. That should have been a migrate symbol.
right. There's an asterisk next to that. No, that's very accurate, and that articulates the point visually very, very well. And that is honestly what it is. Like, dude, you just got to give less fucks. Not you. I'm so terrible when I talk about
you need to
people in
give
general.
less
I say you.
Right, come on.
I have noticed that when I do podcasting, and I've done it before. I'll say you, and then somebody will look at me like, "Oh, I didn't do that," but I wasn't talking about you,
Right,
man.
right.
Just people.
The collective you.
There's
Right.
there's too many fucks to give. It doesn't make sense, and you will drive yourself crazy. And before you know it, you're 82 years old, and you're still just doing the same shit, man. Which is literally just surviving. So give less fucks, man. Choose what that is. Don't be indifferent,
Yeah.
But just choose what the fuck you're willing to suffer for and
Right.
do that. And that's awesome. But you got to be able to articulate that too. And one thing I've been really bad at is I don't have a 2, a 5, a 10-year plan.
I know, man.
And I've realized that I need to incorporate that.
You got to figure out those goals, and you got to figure out.
I never gave a shit until I was this age.
Fuck, man.
How old are you?
38.
I just the other day realized like I kind of actually know how long 10 years feels like now.
I don't have a clue what 10 years.
Oh, dude, I was just like thinking about. I was just like, I kind of remember what 22 was like. It was a fucking train wreck, but I remember like that long ago. I was like, damn. And then like 12 was like, whoo.
I don't at all.
So it's like
I have a
it's
really hard time with time.
that time
Me too,
span.
man. So does Jesse, actually. So it surprised me when you said
dude,
that.
That's why I was just like, whoa. It's like 10 years. Like I could like foresee 10 years in the future just
Actually,
by looking in the past.
It's funny you bring that up because that's my next set.
What do you mean?
That's my next set on the next psychedelic journey I ever go on. My
Ooh.
next set for a true, deep dive is that.
The 10-year
It's
plan.
That weird.
Oh,
no,
God.
Not 10-year plan. That sounds fucking terrible, right? But no, the chronological order of my existence and
Oh yeah, going back to that.
fuck,
like
dude. Like Vince said,
Man.
I don't know what it is, man. I feel like I've lived like 20 lives and not one of them is the same person. And I feel embarrassed about it because I know I've had relationships with people sometimes and then they
Oh,
come
yeah.
back and it's gone. It's fucking gone, dude.
Oh yeah,
I don't even remember.
I
who
forgot
you.
you.
If you're listening to this podcast right now,
Oh yeah, we're
and
on a
you
podcast.
agree with this, because he just ripped the words out of my throat.
Oh,
I want you to hit that 5-star button.
That's
and
where we
and
need
leave
Vince
a
around.
comment.
you're hired.
And somebody should subscribe to our podcast. That'd be great.
Yeah, you
It's like we've never said
Is
this
it?
on the podcast.
What do I do? I do
subscribe
up,
button.
down. Where's it at? It could be anywhere around this
Like,
area.
oh my
Just push
god,
that
dude.
button.
I also don't remember anything about my past.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
You're gonna
and we'll-
forget about that
we'll
subscribe
find it
hit in
together.
10 years anyway, so you're good to go.
But
oh, man.
it's a trip, and you speaking about one of those persons, you're very idea oriented. You see anything, I'm assuming, and you have a thought that is associated with like that's not just a pine cone. That could be a pine cone. Like, it could do more, man. Like, it's tricky, and I don't know if that's why I have the same experience you do with the chronological association with things. But that's where my mind is.
It's future oriented and not.
Mine's very present now. It used
Present.
to be very, very future oriented. Was very predicated on hope, which I found to be
crack of shit.
a crack of shit. That's a good
Absolutely.
way to put it. Where now I'm more. I'm
Hope
not,
is a political term, It's one of those things
hope's
where
a
it's
very
like.
brain term, though. Think about your brain without hope. If you don't have something else to supplant itself within where the hope was going to be. The fucking thing almost shuts down. So I don't
Without
want to
hope?
Yeah, and I'm not saying like you in general, Vince. I'm saying a lot of people that I know. If I just ripped hope out and nothing else went in place of hope, I got a lot of existential angst calling me and texting me, and I don't know what's the right way to handle that. I've kind of found my own little way of doing it, but that's a tricky one.
Yeah, when I read that Mark Manson book about hope
Absolutely.
and how like there's a whole caveat with the idea of hope that like if you have hope, it automatically means things are fucked.
Yeah, I get
You know what I mean?
I forgot
So
I said that.
Who was the? What was this book?
Mark Manson? That's a.
It was
fucking
the
incredible
sequel to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck called Everything is Fucked.
Yeah, if you haven't read that,
It's
I
just
think
called
you'd dig
A
it.
Book About Hope. And
I need to read more.
Yeah, Everything is Fucked
I need
by
to
Mark
read
Manson.
more, man.
And
I mean, I don't read.
That's awesome.
It's a good-
Because
It's not awesome.
no, I mean, it's awesome to realize that because
yeah, at least you got
I
that.
listen.
going
I
for you.
listen a lot.
because
It's on
all those
Audible,
things
so
that
you
you
could
can't
listen
get
to it.
done,
I should.
so many people are already doing. Does that make sense? Like when you say I got all these things I got to do. I'm a go. The crazy thing is, a lot of them are done, and they can just be like abridged into your life so radically fast that it's kind of cool where you can get immediate feedback instead of going through the whole process of reinventing the wheel.
Right.
And those people exist in mass, right? I mean, all the incredible people, and that's podcasting changed my life in that way particularly. Like that was probably the biggest thing that podcasting ever did to me, and why I then not wanted to do podcasting because I could give that to somebody else, but just wanted to be involved with like just talking out loud like this.
Sure.
But yeah, 2010, my first Joe Rogan podcast, and then it just changed my life that there's all these people out there that I don't I don't have to be the sole proprietor of answers, ideas, and or even does there need to be an answer type thing? Because there ain't. You know what I mean? It's just it's a conglomerate. It's a smorgasbord of just fucking people winging it.
Right.
And you get to see enough of those people sitting around the table, and it's comforting in a way. So anyway,
that was kind of like the process too to get to like that that figure out what's worth suffering for kind of thing. Like was just like being aware that it's like, you know, it's like don't just hope to hope, you know, like don't just have that like, you know, because that's a dead end, you know, like because then you're just like you're living in that world where everything's fucked and you're just like hoping for a better world.
You just gotta chase for more hope, yeah.
Instead of just like being a better
Yeah.
Just be a better you and don't hope for a better you or a better future.
Yeah,
just be it. Which kind of sounds shitty.
It's kind of sad, but
I mean, hope,
it's true.
Hope by its nature is a fairly lazy thought.
I mean, it's like it's like
because
it's just one side of the coin, you know. It's
there's
like,
no real action behind the word hope.
Like
It is lazy. It is lazy, and
I don't mean that for anybody out there who's listening. Who
I agree.
Has hope.
See, we
in
need
something.
Vince around more often. He even apologizes.
Right.
He tells people to subscribe. He's like, God damn it! I want to be a board member one day.
You want to produce our podcast, Vince? Like,
Happily, I'd love to come hang out with you guys more often.
that'd be great.
But no, you're right. It's lazy in a fact, but it's not because look, I get it, and I know nobody's looking at me going, "Okay, I believe I get it. It's gonna be okay." But I like to pull a fucking warm blanket over me too, man, and tell myself everything's gonna be
Seriously, man.
okay. Who doesn't?
There's a lot of really nasty stuff.
There's nasty shit, man.
Happening
Just the
all
fact
the
that you're
time.
alive, just the guilt of being born is enough in and of itself.
That was a thought that I had in the tank today.
you felt guilty for being alive.
It was just one of those things where it's like, how many terrible things have happened while I was in here for this hour?
Wow, that's a crazy thought.
And then I was like, okay, well, let's not bring that darkness into this dark tank. I was like, okay, well, how many beers do you think were drank
Well, I was in this
while I was in there?
It just
Whether
goes,
those beers led to that dark, whatever happened afterwards.
Right.
I think this
Much
is a
more fun thought.
perfect caveat to floating because what he's saying is, you know what, dude, not much is happening in an hour, bitch. Get in the float tank.
Yeah, right. Lots is happening in an hour.
Lots is happening, but
So much so to where you realize how little control you have.
Yeah, you have no control, man. That's probably one of the hardest things. If we're gonna have like a self therapy session right now and talk about the shit that's fucked us up, is like I always had a hard time letting go of that wheel. Like I can control this, I can manipulate this, I can drive this, I can steer this, I can do that, and you can't. I mean, to an extent, you can be responsible, be pragmatic, do what you need to do to position yourself the way you can. But, oh man,
At the same time, though, like as you're a business owner,
mm-hmm.
you have more control over an entity than a lot of other people have.
100%. So it's a very subtle discussion or a very nuanced discussion that you go any route. Yes, I did this specifically for that reason. 100%. That's why I've ever wanted to be a business owner, is because one of my overarching values is freedom. It just is.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things. But then you got to be smart and have a 10-year plan, man. You got to actually probably make some money someday. There's no more 401k.
So you got to pull that blanket off.
Right.
Well, I was talking about the
There's
blanket.
that hope blanket just leaving me.
And I know this is always a touchy conversation, and I'm not bringing it up in that facility, but the hope is what anything is that you can't figure out what the meaning of life is, period. So hope is just the meaninglessness that can seep into your fucking pores if you allow it to. So hope is got a lot of people from going crazy.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
if you're compelled to hope for a perspective of
Sanity
or sanity or anything like that, I'm definitely
hold on
not,
to that.
I'm not saying that there isn't a better way, but
hope has also allowed a lot of people to put their future in other people's hands.
Yeah. Don't let it put
100%.
blinders on yourself, man. Like
it's a tricky fucking one, man, because the last thing you want to do is strip away somebody's safety blanket if it's like some especially some theological reason that it's the only goddamn thing that gets you to go to sleep at night or wakes you up at night or makes you think that any of this is not just nihilistic in nature.
Right.
Because that's that's right around the fucking corner.
Yeah,
if you make one change in the way you're presenting, your thoughts, hope being a big, peg in this fucking thing that doesn't let it move the way you might not want it to, you gotta build up to that.
Right, yeah.
You got to do some reading for that one.
Strong. You got to be a strong person.
You got to be pretty strong, man. And you got to also realize that, God damn, I don't know how to say this the right way, but
give it a shot. I'll apologize to your viewers after you're done.
I'll say it the way I always say it without it being offensive, but everybody's just winging it. Fucking everybody. I mean, the Pope, the President, I don't give a fuck.
DJT.
The Rock is winging it. God damn it. Dwayne Johnson's rigging it. Everybody. I mean, there's nobody steering this fucking ship. We're literally hurling through space. It's insane. There's a nuclear fucking fusion goddamn generator that we're flying around that's a million times larger than we could slam in anything at any fucking moment. So if you are going to disgust your own life, if you're going to put yourself in a position where you hate your life because you're not better at journaling than somebody else, or Levi fucking, farts smell better than yours, whatever it is, you got to realize that there's so much weird shit going on right now that it's just not worth fucking dwelling over. So that's why I get hyped up when I'm talking about, figure out what you're going to desire for, and everything else just don't matter, man. Because it's already weird enough. It literally is. No matter what you do, it's so ephemeral and so temporal, and it's just gone.
It blows my mind that this fucking body is alive. You know what I mean? This shit,
true, dude.
It just does its own thing.
It just carries my little brain around searching for IPAs.
Oh man,
it's like,
I don't know, that. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like people that get into those ruminations and stuff like that. It's just
rumination's a terrible one, man.
You gotta fucking just step back and just think about the big picture, man. You are on a flying rock. You're not just that. You're literally inside a thing that's alive on its own without you.
Yeah. 90% of it's all autonomic.
It's
man.
It's
not more.
It's where do you come in?
I was gonna say you dive down the rabbit hole of what is you.
Yep.
Dude, it's so
and that's
fun,
a fun
man.
one. That's a fun one, and that's what I really enjoy about.
That's where you can
actually
get some
spending
peace.
time.
That's where I get a lot of peace. It's man, at the end of the day, dude, it's fuck, man, where am I even at? What's the problem? I don't know. And just being able to just identify the emotions that come over and take the shape, man. Because it's takes the shape of your consciousness. You know what I mean? And then you can go down that rabbit hole for a lifetime, and it can be really bad if you don't take a step back and just be okay, I'm in this body that has these chemical hormones rushing through it, and that's what this is in my mind right now. My mind, man, that's a fucking crazy thing, man. Dude, being in the float tank, I'm just what am I where?
That's why I want to bring this conversation back to
just going back to paying attention to what's paying attention and then resting there.
I couldn't agree with you more, but that's a very loaded thing to say. As simple as it sounds to just somebody who you're just acting and reacting day in and day out, and it's very normal. It's very okay. Nothing. I'm not opposed to that, but I also. With this podcasting world and trying to create these platforms, KZUM, etc., everything else, one question that always comes back to me, because I just want to say this before the question, is I don't want to fucking tell anybody how to live. Mm-hmm. And whatever compels you to live the life you want to live, awesome, right? I guess there's little caveats don't be a dick, be cool to each other. Seriously, this is simple fucking things, man. But outside of that, I don't know. Nobody knows.
So follow the platinum rule. You ever heard of the platinum rule? You know what the golden rule is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
What's the golden rule?
Treat
you want?
how you want to be treated, right?
Right. So what would the platinum rule be?
Treat yourself like you.
It's got to be a little bit better than the golden rule.
Treat others how they want to be treated.
I dig that. You know what's weird about that one? Okay, my last float, I went down that rabbit hole of, when you hear somebody, okay, so this comparison, okay, your wife, the journaling, I'll try to mix these two together. you look at her and think she's a badass journalist or whatever, or you might look at her and think something else like, man, you know, I'm embarrassed for her for doing that. That's all just predicated off your own experience and kind of what you think about yourself. And that's what's interesting about what you said about the platinum rule is do unto others what you think they want done onto them. It's all
No. Not what you think they want done. What they want done.
But you
which then
but that's
is
still
a contextual thing.
Right,
You
yeah.
have to understand what it is the other wants done to them.
That's where I want to take it is the contextual aspect because you can only contextualize things based off your own experience, right? So I have no fucking clue. In all actuality, if somebody rings the little bone in my ear to get it, I heard them say that I want a blue car. It's still not the same thing. My perception of what a blue car is going to mean to that person is nothing what a blue car is going to mean to them themselves, right? So I always thought this was interesting. When you look at somebody, you're like, God, I wish I could be like them. They're so great. Everything else. They have these great attributes, everything else. Those are attributes that you probably possess too. Or if you look at somebody like, man, oh, he shouldn't have done that. That's probably these are things you think of yourself. Is my point. Yep. Is because you can only formulate those in the context of your own computer. And so that's where you're running that algorithm through. And so I like that. I like that concept a lot. It's still predicated on what you would think, but it's very indicative of being as selfless as you can, but also...
Well, it requires more work.
It requires more work.
Than the golden rule.
But
I like that.
Yeah, it does require more work, and I actually appreciate the shit out of that. And that's like when I was thinking about the BCN network and stuff in the tank, and I haven't been down to the speakeasy yet, but what's the bar called?
The Storm Cellar.
Yeah,
Shout
dude,
out
I
Storm
remember this
Cellar.
from back in the day. So Storm Cellar is where you do these
Storm
on Wednesday
Cellars,
nights. Go down there.
Yep.
We got to get back to
Wednesday
work.
night.
8 o'clock is when we go live, and then it's followed by an open mic night, so anybody can hop on stage and.
So this is what I
do their
picture,
thing.
Vince, and tell me if I'm wrong. Never been
Okay.
there. But this is what I love about what I think I want these platforms to be able to inject or just, fucking the sperm that goes out onto Lincoln. That sounds terrible. Whatever it is, I want this to be what's reproduced is not trying to virtue signal, not trying to showcase why you're better, how you're talented. I picture going there on Wednesday nights and seeing a lot of people that are probably more self-deprecating than they are, trying to fucking showboat. Mm-hmm. I see the potential to have people that have these golden and hopefully platinum rules in the future be the future. That's what I'm getting at with all these podcasts. That's where I want the fucking future to go. I want people to go and sit at a table and do their goddamnedest to make the other guy sitting across the way because they're doing the platinum rule not feel uncomfortable because in their own experience, if IE happened, they'd feel uncomfortable. And they're thinking that person thinks that way too. So they go out of their way not to make that happen. Not by taking away from themselves, but just creating this fucking environment where it doesn't have to be aggressively competitive, which is natural. Don't get me wrong. I'm not opposed to that. It's a natural hierarchical advantage. But there's something beautiful about coming to the table, knowing you could do that, but not doing it and still winning. Because there's a win in that. And it's a different wealth that you're generating for yourself versus status versus just simply monetarial. It can be a different wealth creation. And I think personally, that's what I want to see. And before I was going to come out and say any of that shit, I did want to ask you, all these different things you're producing, all this different KZUM stuff, all these different platforms. I understand there's always a game we're playing. There's always a business out there. There's all this stuff. But what the fuck do you want to see happen?
Yeah.
It's a great question, man.
Who says you're not a good podcast host?
Yeah, you're a great podcast host.
What happened?
Yeah, if you also agree that he's a great podcast host, hit that.
Follow the Basement Creators Network.
Right here. Yes.
And this is something that we're trying to figure out. This is actually something that's it's difficult because where is the value? And who is who is it valuable to? Mm-hmm. Specifically with Basement Creators Network, BCN. And we'll call it BCN because we're no longer in the basement, technically.
Okay.
We're actually back in a basement because the Storm Cellar's in the basement of that shopping mall area, which is kind of interesting.
That's perfect.
When I was when I was growing up and in different musical projects, like one of the peak threshold, like one of the things that I wanted to do most was specifically record a music video. Like how cool. Like that is it.
That's what I went to school for.
I didn't even play an instrument. I felt the same way.
Right. Like, man, I gotta just,
I naively
sitting
like went to college thinking I was going to like produce music videos.
make music videos. Wow. And then there's people out there who are doing incredible work. Like we'll give a shout out to Audio Tree. We'll give a shout out to KEXP. I think there's a High Sessions is another one. There's a lot of people out there making really, really great music videos. But there was nobody doing that in Lincoln. And so I wanted to figure out a way to do that, but not necessarily have to like charge bands to come and do that. It's a difficult business model though.
Fuck yeah.
But
that's what I'm speaking.
There's no real money coming in that way.
What's the wealth generation?
And so right now we're relying on community support. And that's why we're pushing our Patreon so hard right now. Patreon.com/Basement Creators Network.
And you can support it for just $3 a month.
Yeah, $3, $10, $20 a month. We have different tiers. We have different packages that people can be a part of. We're trying to push that pretty hard. But even then, like just the idea of how many people would have to get behind us to make that actually hit our goal of sustainability and growth.
Right. Not
even a matter of sustainability, but like I want to improve our video quality. I want to improve our audio quality. I want to get multicam setups. I want to get better lighting. I want when a band comes on to what it is that we're doing, they leave with 9 songs recorded of crisp, beautiful, high-quality music videos that they could share around the world and not be ashamed at all for what it is they're sharing, especially if they nailed their performance. Like we don't go through and do any sort of editing because we can't.
But it's kind of beautiful.
It is beautiful. But we literally can't do any editing because if we were to edit something, the audio would not align with the video and we're limited at that point in time. So shout out to Chris Steffen,
dude.
Seriously, he's just we're pumping out this content, man. I mean, we're putting out on average 2 videos a day. We've
impressive.
Put out over the last year, we are just about to hit 300 music videos.
Wow, that's rad.
And that's even there was a portion in time because we're always trying to figure out what's going to work best. So for a while, we were putting out every single video as a single. And then for a while, we actually just started putting out sets. So we put out like set 1, set 2, set 3 because our show is broken up into different sets. Well, now we're kind of doing a hybrid. We do 5 to 6 singles and the full session. We find that that's the best. So if we were to continue, if we would have put out all the videos like we did when we first put out, we'd probably have over 500 to 600 music videos out there right now. But again, where's the value in that?
Right.
Who is that valuable to? And I think that's all a matter of like education and getting the word out to specifically the artists that we have on. And at the same time, like you don't want to necessarily feel like, hey, artists, become a patron, like support us financially. But for $3 a month and you're a patron.
Yes, buddy.
Absolutely. You're a patron.
Yes, sir.
Any band that you're in at this point in time, that you're absolutely more than welcome. When you got 10 songs ready to roll, you're welcome to hit us up and say, hey, I want to come on the network.
Thank you.
And and any musician that way, if you can support us for that small fraction of money, at any point in time, you have access to, 10 live high definition music videos, fully produced, whenever you want it.
Oh man,
that's a great idea.
That right there, I think, is a value to the musician.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
100% to the musician. The musician's a no-brainer.
So trying to figure out how we get more of these musicians that we've had on the show, shit, dude. I mean, if we had every musician who's ever come on the show supporting us on Patreon at $10 a month,
oh man,
it would be.
You'd be like, do you know how many bands you've had on? like 100, right?
Well, two
Not
really
quite
good
100.
ones I know.
Quite
of.
100.
Not quite 100. I would say I have a list. Probably 50,
Wow.
40 or 50.
Okay,
I mean, once a week for a whole year.
so about 50 then, yeah.
So in February will be our first year
Wow.
doing what we've done with a show almost every week except for last December.
Dude.
It's interesting because, not to cut you off a little bit,
No, please do.
you still got to get back to the answer of like your value, right? Like the value from the musicians I see, I think it's plain.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. It's almost too, when I think about hunters or things like that, everybody that does that for hunters, conservation, all that stuff, it's because they're team hunter, man, and they want to protect these lands. They want to have this ability to do what they love. That's no different than what you're doing with musicians. So if I was a musician, I'm dropping $10 a month, no problem. It's just gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
My value is trying to find a way to make an impact in people's lives.
Yeah.
Dude, you've changed my life, man. Like, it's,
Well, I greatly appreciate that,
dude,
man.
seriously, man. Like, that was like one of the coolest things I ever did. Like, was going on your show. Like,
I watched
made-
that whole show.
I was so like just
That
on cloud 9, man. Like,
brings a smile to my face, man. I love that.
it was crazy. It was like being on TV. Like,
And that is. It
were
is
on my
like being
TV,
on
man.
TV, man.
It is.
Dude.
That is the future. That
when
is
you had the
TV.
Midland Band on, I actually was in my basement and I had it on my big screen TV.
Yeah.
And it was just so rad, just like cranking it up on my huge TV, just like
It's like, this is happening in Lincoln, Nebraska right now?
Yeah.
What is this?
Wasn't they
man.
one of your first bands? Midland?
The
Or-
Midland Band?
no,
No.
they were
No,
they were the
the first
first one
bands
at
at the, new
the
place,
New
I
place.
mean, yeah.
They were.
Yes.
Okay.
Funk Trek.
Funk Trek was the very first
first
one.
band.
Shout
Boy,
out
talk-
Funk Trek, dude.
Talk about a like.
Yeah.
You want to talk about pressure?
I've heard.
You bring a gigantic band into a fresh space with new equipment,
Right.
And they kill it.
Oh, dude.
And I better kill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if our equipment isn't working right, if I'm not
No, it's
working
done.
right, if anything's
it's
not
then
working
and now,
right,
right?
it's got to happen.
There's some
happen.
some cool shit involved with that too. That I think you're just creating a kind of a new paradigm where, yeah, I agree with you. A band shows up, they're gonna make this music video. It better be the tits, man. It better all work out. Better be great. But here's the thing: you're going on a live, open forum podcast, basically, and playing music.
Yeah.
There's something fucking awesome about that.
Oh, yeah.
And even if one of the goddamn mic cables was squealing the whole time, whatever, it's still cool because it was
live.
fucking real. No,
Oh,
it's not
yeah.
even just live. It was fucking music and people listening to music, that play music, that like music, watching other people play music.
Oh, dude.
It's fucking. That's
Such-
what I'm thinking.
It's rad.
It's
from-
a
from all that
springboard
stuff.
for musicians, especially in our community here, man.
What's the
'cause-
funnest thing you do, man? Is it jamming in Tom's basement and putting the new tracks together, or is it fucking you get my point?
Yeah.
But there's something that what got you into music in the first place and playing music and just
The creative
jamming
process
out.
is fun.
The creative process.
But finding a way to amplify
Yeah,
that
and
process.
share that music, dude.
but you can
There's-
get that.
I mean,
but you're
real
not talking
cool.
about going to a recording studio and dropping $5,000 to have this perfect sound. You're talking about music for musicians. Not saying that has to be your market,
Right.
But just that in of itself is why you vote with your dollars.
It's like the marriage of a platform for musicians and a platform for people who love local music. and
That's
people who
the
love
goal,
it.
man.
And it's like
And that's only
going
gonna
to
grow,
marriage
the
that you
local
have
musicians.
created, dude.
And that's like so how do you grow that?
Right?
Truly grow that. As far as like being able to provide payroll to the people who is making this happen, because there's a ton of work that goes into this.
Oh, yeah.
From me booking, managing, making sure everything happens, to Charlie doing all the video editing, to Chris doing all the live
Just
sound.
saying that's
Just-
hilarious. Do you notice when somebody like comes out and like they back themselves up like look, this costs money, the first thing they say is like, hey, I gotta book people, but then me like, that doesn't sound like much, even though and I know
There's a lot.
and
There's a
anybody
lot to
knows who
it.
owns a business. Just that one sign up form, man, takes fucking hours out of your day.
Scheduling is a
And we
pain
have
in the
gotten-
ass.
I have gotten-
just emailing.
I've gotten
is insane.
significantly better at that.
Yeah,
Like we have,
but
we
it's a
have
lot
our
of work.
process
It's a lot of work.
pretty
Yeah.
down packed.
Nice.
Thank goodness.
Man, I was in there early on in the basement, in the OG basement,
Man,
and
I
you
know.
were organized, dude.
We were pretty
You had a
organized.
contract and shit. Like,
Yeah. I mean, you have to.
Yeah,
You're
you
putting
definitely
out
have to.
original music.
it was fucking legit.
And that's not that not only are people coming on and are these bands coming on and getting this incredible
High
quality video and audio production for them, but we are also here within the next month, hopefully, we're taking all of those recordings and distributing them on every single streaming platform.
Yes.
Dude,
Not
yeah.
only are we doing that, we are taking all of that streaming revenue and we're splitting it 50-50 with every band that's ever come on.
Okay,
Whoa.
right on, man.
So
How the hell are you gonna do that?
That makes sense.
Yep. So, we don't want bands to feel like they're coming on the
Right.
show and just like giving us content
You're trying to
make
find-
money off of.
You're trying to find a win-win.
We have to find a win-win. We want bands to feel like it's a win-win. We want bands to feel like, oh my God, I had such a great experience that I can't wait to write a new album and come and perform it on Basement Creators Network next time.
Yeah, dude.
And grow. And then it leads itself to say, okay, well, right now we're just a sole proprietorship, and that was the cheapest, obviously, business entity to set up. Going into the future,
Fuck yeah.
what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna have to change it.
What do we do?
Have you thought about reaching out to NET?
Well,
See, don't. I don't know.
Ooh,
We're not-
He said don't.
I mean, we've reached out to KZUM.
Yeah.
Even before I was a board member, we were in talks with KZUM. And so, I mean, I can just go ahead and talk about this live on air. It's not happened yet, but this is exclusive. Like
Ooh,
right now,
right here.
we're building a page on KZUM's website that people can go and watch the shows.
That's perfect.
And
Cool.
see. So, like, it's a mesh between this community radio station and what it is that we're doing. And we're trying to figure out a way to.
Well, dude, can I interject this too? Because the bigger you build the platform, remove even music from this conversation. There's still an underlying platform that's being built, as we've talked about in the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah.
That platform's going to be then available. That's what we're saying. If there is demand, there will be supply. That supply doesn't have to leave. That supply can be supplied from here to the demand wherever. Like you said, it's no longer AM, FM, radio waves, etc.
Costs a
It can
lot of
go
money
anywhere.
to build that demand.
It costs
man.
a ton of money, man.
That's the problem.
But here's the deal: it's slowly dripping down. It's happening. So you have some band come, they play the Basement Creators, etc. They have avenues to go talk to other people that didn't know about them before.
Absolutely.
And these little avenues open up to bigger avenues, open up to more content, open up to more. It's just fucking doors. That's it. You got to walk through that door, look around. Hey, now there's a door I didn't see before. Do I don't know. Go check it out.
The one bummer with digital content is a lot of those doors are pay to get through.
Even if you have the content already.
Even if you have the content already, man, we'll post on Facebook,
Yeah.
and it'll be like the same 5 people who like
Well,
everything,
the algorithm's
and
not
that's
built that way.
That's
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the algorithm
You gotta
is
pay
putting
for
it into their thing, and it's like
But that's another thing too. Is like later on moving forward,
we need that financial
You
support.
need it. No,
started
100
that.
fucking
We
percent. like,
absolutely need that.
No joke. To build something like you're trying to do, to put in the time, the effort, to
Yeah.
have a front runner that's going to go look at contracts, worry about the legalities, do all the shit that none of us want to do, especially this fuck sitting next to me.
Hell no.
He wants to show up. He wants to play some goddamn good music, and he wants to probably split that revenue with somebody who's going to do all the other bullshit work that he doesn't want to do.
100%.
And if you have enough bands that realize and seek that opportunity and see the value in that, they're gonna, start paying money. Other people are gonna want to listen to. Now there's this stable of bands that are available, are gonna want to listen to that content on this exclusive page in HD. They're gonna pay. You start giving revenue streams. You can pay for this fucking advertising. That is the way it works, kids. You don't just put a post on a business page and your 3,000 or 10,000 followers see it. Nobody fucking sees it.
Oh man, yeah.
We do it all the time, and so you have to pay to play, and especially with digital content.
Well, we're toying with the idea. We're toying with the idea of becoming nonprofit.
It's not a bad idea at all. Again, you just got
And
you got to learn a new thing, man.
I can't necessarily, I don't want to say anything more than that because I don't know. It's
You don't have
very-
to. You're just toying with the idea.
Nice.
It's something to go read about.
Yeah, because it is a service.
If you read.
I want this to be a service, and I don't want people to think that we're in this necessarily for the money.
Well, that's why I
However,
wanted you to have that conversation.
I do want people to know that there's a lot of work that is involved with this,
Well,
and unfortunately, work equates to money in our current economy.
Dude, you remember the
That's
first
just
time
the
I met
way it
you?
is.
No.
We just got over talking about how we have no idea what happened in our youth.
It's true. Jesse had sideburns so low, he probably can see me, man.
Dude, I used to have these giant sideburns. It was ridiculous.
But remember me asking you, man, like, you wanted to work at this fucking float center so bad. And
I was pounding on the door before they opened, dude.
And I'm like, what's your angle, buddy?
Let me float. Let me work. Let me vacuum. Let me do something.
Yeah.
I'll take care of your zebra rug.
These cheeseburgers.
And I had to explain to him too. I was like, look, man, I love this idea. This is very important to me. This is a big deal, man. You're not going to show up to this float center. There's not going to be a Buddha on the wall. There's not going to be, this isn't some fucking
He said that
thing,
in the
man.
interview. There's not going to be a Buddha on the wall.
And I'm not against Buddha. I have nothing
And he
against
said
that.
that too.
I have nothing against it. I wanted to build my art, period. I wanted a 3D representation of the art that I love, and that's what I'm building, building, and will continue to build forever. Okay? And it does cost money, but here's the coolest fucking thing about my life, and hopefully it comes to fruition, man. If I can take my creativity and I can build my art and I can also get paid to do that, fucking awesome. So why do some people shit on some people for doing that? It's so interesting to me because that's it. No, that's it, man.
Yeah.
This game,
It's the dream, dummy.
It's the totality of the game, man. That's
Honestly, it does kind of suck that you have to feel like you need something from others.
Yeah, right.
Which is cash.
That's what capitalism is.
But that's just literally what it is. It's the framework that we are existing in.
What would you rather do? You couldn't have this music. You couldn't have this art. You couldn't have this creativity. It wouldn't exist. This is the most beautiful system for this to work, but this is how the system works. And as long as you're not cheating and you can sleep and you have, resonance and you're not feeling the distance, you're being honest with yourself and you can be value oriented. This is the fucking most beautiful thing you can do, man.
Oh,
and the fact that money has to come in and just be like, well, he's just trying to make money off that. Fucking course you're trying to make money off of it.
Yeah.
You're not, buddy? Why do you go to work
Well,
every
it's not
day?
even that you're trying to make money off of it. It's literally what you need to operate.
Right. But it's still got to
You gotta
have
feed
monetary-
yourself.
Right.
The life.
You got to keep the lights on. You've
And
got to
that's-
keep the tanks full. You got to keep your,
Totally. But that's money.
all of this.
That's
It's
still
all money.
It's still money.
It's
So
all money.
people hear money as a dirty fucking word. That is not a dirty word. It is awesome that somebody could do that, man.
Don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah.
You don't have a choice.
And it's awesome. If
I wish
you
we
can-
had a choice.
It's
you
the
can-
best thing
Kinda.
we've come up with.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like, I will work to hard to trade you this thing.
Yes.
Right.
It's like, dude, I don't know. An old band I played with, we recorded ourselves, we mixed it, we sent it off, got it mastered, pressed a vinyl. I will fucking never do that again. Another group I went to, both bands actually, Pure Brown and Mr. McMoney, recorded just within the last 4 months, and we went to 2 different studios. And after doing the Basement Creators 2, it was just like having somebody else take care of all that is such a value.
Yeah.
It is such a monetary I would pay money. I can boil it down to this is worth X amount of dollars. I would work my ass off to go mow a lawn. I don't care what I got to do to get the money to pay for
to
that
get the money to
service.
make this art, dude. That is
That's
beautiful.
a service, man.
It is.
It really is, and it's a skill set. And it's if I'm gonna take my time to practice my instrument and learn my instrument, I don't want to fucking take time away from that to learn how to engineer sound or engineer video or
There's somebody else that can
There's
do
somebody
that.
else
that's a whole fucking job,
And
dude.
here's the lesson I've never fucking learned.
That's an instrument.
You get what you pay for. I still have
damn
not
right you
fucking learned that
Oh, yeah.
at all. You literally do, man.
You know how many fucking,
It's just the way it is.
I've not. No.
I
What
haven't
did you
learned
say?
it.
You get what you pay for?
Yeah, it's a lesson that I literally at this fucking point, 38 years old, 2020, have not fucking learned.
Yep. I just ordered a cell phone microphone from China. It'll be here.
It's gonna be a piece of shit.
It's gonna be the biggest piece of shit.
That's the thing. You get what you pay for. That's what I'm saying, man. You really, truly do. And that's the way it is.
See, that's kind of the interesting thing about what we're trying to do is
You're literally trying to unfold that.
We're trying to unfold that because...
And so if anybody thinks it's monetarily driven, my whole point of that being is you get what you pay for unless you know where somebody's coming. Like, what is the wealth creation they're going for? And who gives a shit if there's money involved? Of course there's money. Of course there's going to be monetary gain. But that's not...
So what, these cameras aren't cheap?
You love fucking music, right?
Yeah.
You love to produce music. You love to give people the opportunity to do it. It fucking makes you feel good, so you dig it. You dig it, man. It's not like you're like, if I get 16 more bands, I'll just have Jesse come do this and I'll drink Mai Tais all day on the beach. You're going to fucking hate your life. No, this is creativity. This is art. It's something you're doing, and it has to be paid for. It's just, I don't know. I don't know.
There's something about that pressure. You know what I mean? Like that pushes you.
Yeah.
And you want, it's like.
Nobody else is
it's
going
like,
to do that unless
I'm
it's
fucking
there.
spending $1,700 in 2 days in 19 hours to record this album. Let's fucking go. And like we fucking busted our ass like to rehearse for months before we went into this fucking studio. You know what I mean? It's just like they're like, or to go on Basement Cruise. We busted our ass to go on that fucking
And that's
show.
awesome.
Dude.
That's
like,
great.
We were just like, this is the fucking real deal, guys. Like we're gonna be, you know what I
We're
mean?
going to be live.
Yeah, like.
And then
in
what if
front
that
of the
platform wasn't there?
world.
You're living in Nika, Nebraska. That platform's not there. You go press another vinyl. What do?
Oh man.
This platform needs to exist.
Yeah, dude.
my whole
It's
point.
like you and in order to exist, you have to break through those fucking Facebook algorithms, and you got to pay money to
Seriously.
do that, dude. You have
you
to pay
do.
money to do that, and it's
You have to get big enough to where you can't be ignored anymore.
right.
Not to mention everybody that's
I
making
think you're
music.
on your way, dude.
And that takes it just takes capital.
It does. Everything. takes
Everything
capital.
everything. You know, for us to reach a new audience,
And
it's
where do you
literally
want
going
that
to take
capital to come from? A lot of people don't think
I
about
want that
too.
capital to come from anybody who appreciates art.
Yeah. That's my point. So any bands out there listening saying, well, I'm going to give you a video.
That sounded
Do you-
stupid.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to elaborate on what that
I
means.
was going to do it.
Please do. Please do.
So I'm not a band member. I know nothing about making music, but I understand I understand people's fears and trepidations towards other people's angle or what they're coming from or what this really means, what it means to you, what it might mean to other people.
Well, think of the whole
What you want
Spotify
from it.
mess.
It's a perfect example.
Ooh.
But it's still. Do you want somebody to go and get some fortune, some big investor that he really is, his wealth generation truly is just to make money. It's an investment, period. There's no soul, there's no art in that. He wants a return on his investment, and those dollars, they garner power. They demand respect. Basically, they take away control. And so I'd rather have the person, is what I'm saying, behind the wheel that is doing it from the perspective that I hope they're doing it from. So if you do still need to get money, what you do, where do you want it to come from is my point. If you want to go get $100,000 investment from Mike down the street who's like, hey, yeah, but I want 10% back on this and that.
I want this and that.
That's what it is. And you're going to change this because it's
You
not
gotta
doing
give
that.
up that freedom, dude.
You
Frankly,
give
man,
that up, and that's what's
that-
always happened.
That is why we're toying with the idea of nonprofit,
I like that.
I think it's a good idea.
because
You retain that control, right?
well, it's not even. Honestly, it doesn't. You don't retain that control.
No.
The minute you move towards a nonprofit, your organization becomes essentially centrally owned. You know, your control almost is lifted. The control of the company is in the hands of board members that are elected on whatever, and whatever that you set in your bylaws is how it's determined. And so
I'd be on that board.
You don't. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, well, and then when you're trying to figure out, who's going to be good for our board, you have to figure out who adds value in specific areas. So when KZUM put me on their board, they see that I have a lot of value in podcasting, and podcasts are something that they're trying to grow and expand. Mm-hmm. It only makes sense for them to find somebody who understands podcasting, who understands production, who understands that kind of stuff, and place them on their board, because there's going to be a perspective there that, let's say, the treasurer, who has more of an understanding of finances for 501c3s, which is not me.
Right.
And that is the beauty of a board is literally the skeleton of an organization, and everybody who serves in that board is going to have different perspectives and different talents that they bring to the table. But there really is no hierarchy. Right now with BCN, technically, it would be me.
You're the hierarchy.
I am the hierarchy.
Well, plus you also have to be the treasurer and everything else.
I am the
You gotta do
treasurer.
it all.
I make everything happen, and business speaking, that's how it's structurally set up, because obviously I could not do what I do without Chris and Charlie and Brian, who are helping me every
Shout out
single
Brian
week.
Days.
Yes.
Is that how you say
Brian
his last
Days,
name?
man.
Yeah, dude.
Brian Days. He's the co-host. He's
a good dude.
God, dude.
Ghost Town Radio, right?
You know when you meet people and it's just like they blow your mind?
Yeah.
Brian Days.
Right on.
Just the most gentle giant
The sweetest
I've
heart.
ever met.
Biggest sweetheart.
I mean, you fist pump that guy and his fists are like 4 times the size of your own, but you just feel love when you
That's what I'm talking about. Those are those people that you want to surround yourself with.
And
That
that's
you're giving
kinda
bands
what-
the opportunity to be brought up around those
it's
people.
one of the beauty
man.
of a nonprofit is building a structure and an entity that is surrounding yourself with people who care about the objective of the organization, as opposed to a for-profit where it's more or less just a hierarchy of like, what does the president want? Normally, what does the owner want from this?
Return on investment.
Right. If we're going to take the strict capitalist sense, a company is literally that's all it wants to do is make money.
I do have a question for you there, Vince. I just want to throw this out here.
Throw it around, man.
If money wasn't an option, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
how far? Like, it's like extrapolate. Like, how far you would take? Like, you're like this. You seem to like have like an umbrella kind of corporation, not like the Resident Evil kind, but like.
If money wasn't an option, what would I do?
Yeah. Like how far would you take this? Like, what?
As-
What would basement creators look?
Okay.
Like?
Set that up better. Like he has so much money, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
or
Like if you,
he's
you-
just
you know,
gonna
it's like
burn
if
it to the
say-
ground trying
If
to
you're
do
an entrepreneurial investor listening to this podcast right now, and you invested all your money into the Basement Creators Network,
it. Yeah.
no strings attached, what would you do?
What
with
would I
that?
do?
Yeah.
I would build a community hub with several mixing studios that were equipped with video podcast space. And also staff to help people like yourself understand how to create these shows. All based around a larger stage that would continue to do the live stream shows. And you'd have floating cameras. You'd have probably
That's cool.
probably 10 camera angles.
Would it just be on Twitch all day?
It
Good.
would
Why wouldn't you?
it would be
all day.
be content going out constantly of people here in Lincoln, Nebraska who want to share their message with the world.
So it's like
And people then at that location and at the facility helping
that's
one
great.
another.
That's cool, man. Give Vince your money.
Please do. Like this guy.
All I can picture is like a turbine flats.
a turbine flats for multimedia content
with multimedia
creation.
content
There
creation.
is actually a place here in Lincoln that does that.
What?
There is a podcast studio where you can go and record your podcast.
There's a lot of
It's-
them.
It's not quite like
There's a lot of them.
as awesome as you
No,
just
this
made
is
that
like a
sound.
best
I don't know. I don't want to
program
talk
in the
shit about it, but like you just made that
suck.
sound like fucking awesome. But I mean there is. I didn't know there was a few of them. I just
Yep.
Jesse, our coworker, was showing me this place. You can go in and you can just record your podcast.
yeah,
here,
just record it.
and they'll produce it.
Yeah,
For you.
Like this
They'll engineer
room
it.
right here, you guys could technically rent out to other
Right.
podcasters.
Yeah. Except I would be sitting there with the computer, like doing all the engineering. and
Yeah,
stuff.
somebody'd have to do that.
And it's a paid thing,
And it is a very paid thing.
And that's kind of what KZUM is trying to do. They've got multiple podcast studios inside their radio station that are available to people in the public who want to create podcasts.
shit.
It's an interesting business model, but I also
But I think
Yeah.
visual is huge, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
visual's fun, man.
KZUM.org.
Yeah, KZUM.org for sure.
I love the idea of having that multimedia complex and then having like a stage potential for anybody to do anything, just anything in general. It's fucking weird, but we're so plugged in.
We're so plugged in.
It just works.
We're
in a
plugged
weird way.
in, but the fact of the matter is, we understand that we're plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it that we're plugged into?
Right.
And so, to create that content that people plug into, that's when you're king. And right now, like, there's so many people in California who we're plugging into. People in California, New York. I mean, when I listen to podcasts, a majority of the people that I'm listening to exist in one of those two places.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's political, whether it's creative, whether it's
That's the thing too. Is it
not
almost?
necessary.
It's almost kind of. I don't know.
I listen to some local podcasts. Obviously, I listen to your guys' podcasts. I listen to the podcast that KZUM is creating. I listen to.
So where do you find these KZUM podcasts?
Well, KZUM.org for one. You know, you can go to their podcast site, and then they have all of them listed.
They push them out on everybody else.
Are they on like
Google
Apple
Play,
Podcasts or Google Play or anything like that?
So currently, they're not under an umbrella.
Okay.
From my understanding, every podcast is being distributed like almost individually.
Ouch.
Yeah, you got some work to do. You're good, man.
I
You're in a
mean-
good spot. That's gonna be an easy fix, though.
They got the right guy.
I have an opinion that I feel
right. Oh yeah.
it. You know, I
Be a
feel
good
like it
board
could be a better umbrella.
Obviously, they
You know.
probably know that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but I feel like it would be managed easier.
So here, this is kind of a not to be a Debbie Downer or anything like, but
Debbie down me, man. Hit me up.
I don't even know if I have any substance. What I'm gonna say.
If you can be more of a Debbie Downer than Chris Steffen, mostly.
Oh, burn!
That guy, he loves it. I mean, I love Chris.
Just a fun sponge or what?
I have learned from Chris since I was a freshman in high school. When I wanted to be an audio engineer, that was who I learned from.
Right.
Did you ever do job shadowing when you were?
Yeah. OJT.
I looked him up
Nice.
and I saw Stephonic Recording.
No
Right
shit.
on.
And I called
That's
him
a
up
badass name.
and I said, "Hey man, I have to do a job shadowing thing for my school. Can I come and watch you do your thing?" And he's like, "Bro, I'm in a basement. So you're more than welcome to come over, but
Watch
I'm in a
out.
basement."
Right.
And so I show up, and it's quite literally in a basement. He's got his whole control room is probably half the size of this entire room that we're in right now. It's a closet, and he's got a full 36 channel like Soundcraft board, like just gear to the ceiling.
He's got gear.
His vocal booth is a futon flipped on its side. Have you been into his studio?
Yeah,
Studio
yeah.
PH?
Yeah. That's where Mr.
That-
McMoney played, actually.
That dude built that studio by hand.
Yeah. From the ground up.
So if you're a band out there looking to record somewhere by somebody who knows what they're doing, Studio PH is the new name.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
Studio PH.
I do like Studiophonics though.
It's
That's
a balanced
that's good.
pH.
Stephonic Recording is badass.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. But Studio PH almost brings it into like the modern world.
Yeah.
It's true.
He's got like the driest, like almost like British comedy sense of humor, dude. Like he's just like
But he's also a, like
super sarcastic, just like I
So-
love him, dude.
he
He's
can
so
also
funny.
he can also be the Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important.
What's
Nah,
wrong?
dude,
Because then it-
everybody,
dude, you
it
want
pushes
that.
me.
Everybody
Yeah.
needs.
It's like, look at dude,
Everybody
I'm
needs a pessimist.
almost mad at you. I want to prove you wrong.
It's a-
No,
well,
that's cool.
You need that.
That is what I'm about to
So
do.
this guy is for me.
Please
I do it all the fucking time, man.
hit me on.
But no, I mean just trying
It's on my dreams.
to be a rationalist or whatever, you know. You can look at the music world now, which again, speaking from absolute zero experience, just a consumer. I'm a consumer, right? So actually speaking from probably the better experience of not somebody making the art, but somebody who seek it out and buy it. I see what's happening, you know, like you guys have that. You're not going to go and fucking, your life's not going to be pure brown. It's not going to be Mr. McMoney. You're not going to go make a badass living. You can make a living probably if you localize it well enough, everything else, but you're not going to go be, you know, the next thing, dude. It just ain't happening.
I'm not the next Bieber.
I mean, you go to
unfortunately.
Nashville and
You're close in my book.
every bar that's 5 foot in front of you has one of the best musicians in the fucking world, and they're playing in a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Period. You know, with don't even have to pay to get in the bar. So my
Right,
point
no
is like
cover.
podcasting and stuff like that too. I think a lot of people, entrepreneurially mindseted people, potentially look at probably wrongly as like a potential to create their art and everything else and have it be monetarily incentivized as well. I don't technically see. I see kind of the same scenario. Do it because you love it for sure, but I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of a hard thing to say. This is it, man. This is what I'm gonna fucking do. I'm gonna start this podcast, and it's gonna pay the bills. It's gonna do everything, and that's a tough sell, man. It's just another business, and that's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely not shitting on that. I won't poo-poo on anybody doing a business in their life. I think it's fucking fantastic that you have to go market yourself. You have to learn all the intricacies. You got to figure out, you got to pay taxes, all the little legal entities that you need to be worried about. You got to learn how to do some audio engineering, some producing to get it out there, the content. It's fucking brilliant. Go do anything that's going to, work out your mind and make you seek some type of finished product. But you get my point, man. There's a million fucking bands. There's a million people that are good at music. There's a million people that are great at music. And because those dollar bills that push you through that streaming content that get you out there doesn't mean you're the best band. You're just the band that everybody sees now. And that's what you're going to hear. And that's what's going to be played. Well, at least that's how it used to be, I guess. I think the same thing in podcasts. So why does somebody want to go do a podcast then? Why do you set up a compound to influence people to come to a podcast? Why do you set this up to create more media content? And I'm not shitting on it. I'm just wondering why, not from a perspective of like you love it. I get that. That makes sense. I like to do shit too. But why would that person, how do you sell somebody on doing that? If where's the cheddar come from? How do you make the win-win? Like, is it there?
Well, you
Is
care.
it feasible?
You care deeply about the message that you're trying to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Whether that's a song,
and you're right.
Whether
you
that's a
said you picked your
painting,
market.
whether that's an idea.
But everybody's a starving artist. Everybody's a starving float center owner. Everybody's a starving podcast host. It's cool. I want everybody to do it. Just do it intelligently.
You're most for sure that you're not going to be able to.
Right.
There's a small probability that you're going to be able to raise a family off of the podcast. Very, very small.
But there's a good probability that if you can make enough money to raise your family and fucking do what you love, that you're going to be a good human being to that family.
But creating a compound to allow people to do what they love.
Right.
Whether it's through KZUM with the incredible, dude, there's so many programmers that come on to literally do radio shows for Lincoln.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Slacker
it is
Dave.
amazing.
Slacker Dave every Thursday.
You got Slacker Dave. You've got, and again, I don't listen to much of the radio. Fully transparent here.
Only radio station I listen to, if we're being honest.
And if
I'm putting the radio on, it's going on 89.3.
Thursdays.
KZUM.
Yeah.
Oh, just period.
I'm just
I will
joking.
put. I mean, every Thursday for sure. But every Thursday from 10 to noon, KZUM. Slacker morning show. But I mean, if I'm going to listen to the radio, it's going to be KZUM. Because I don't really get 90.3 with that jazz coming from Omaha. I would listen to that jazz coming from Omaha if they got fucking better.
It's different if they
antennas.
have HD though, right?
But KZUM comes in great in Lincoln, all over Lincoln, and it just sounds fucking good. And it's like the shit that I don't get to hear. Because right before Slacker Morning Show, I also listen to that. It's this Native American radio show where he has this Native American music on there, and it's just super weird, and I love it. You don't hear that anywhere else.
Dude, does UNL still do their radio show?
They have their radio station, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, what is the what's the
I don't remember.
I don't know what the station number is.
Is it 90.3?
I think it's 90.3.
I think it is.
I was thinking that was the Omaha station, but
Yeah,
no.
when you said
I
90.3,
said 90.3 a minute ago, but
I think it's 90.3.
The college station. Shit, I don't listen to that jazz from Omaha. What the fuck am I talking about? Tom listens to the jazz, man.
But it does, I guess those incubators would be nice because somebody would have to have a clear and concise idea of what was going to be creativity that other people, what they could bring to the table. Like a person like me, I'm not bringing anything to the table. I don't know how to play any music. I don't know how to do anything like that. So there is the potentiality that you could funnel it.
I mean, the difference between what we're doing and what KZUM is doing is we're tackling more the video side of things.
For sure. No, 100%. You guys definitely have niched out a very awesome position. I don't.
And frankly, full transparency, we were trying to figure out how we merge.
Yeah.
In a way with KZUM.
Yeah.
Because we do care about the type of work that we're creating, the content we're creating. Our missions are very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so figuring out a way to mold those together and do so legally and do so with the correct hierarchy and do so with, the proper growth strategy and all that kind of stuff. It's like, we're still not there.
Right.
We're still, it's a work in progress.
I think you guys differentiate enough to where it would work.
Right.
Definitely.
I really, truly believe that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely worth investing in if you're listening to this.
The rest of us, we're just going to sit on a couch and
enjoy
pay money.
and enjoy it.
yeah, and pay money for good stuff.
Yeah,
dude.
It's, seriously, man. Like I'm a happy patron of the Basement Creators Network.
I appreciate
dude,
that, man, because
it is worth every penny. Like,
see, I just want to have people on here like you, who, because honestly, before you came on here tonight, I mean, I knew you were doing the Basement Creators, but I wasn't invested in it I don't have time to go see, like, so what are you doing? What's the idea? What's the overarching theme here? People kind of have an understanding of that now. That's a big fucking deal. It really is. It's a big deal for anybody that can have something like that can go and then change multiple lives and not just one entity. That's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we can keep plugging people who are going to go do cool shit, and we'll just hang back. But people that are going to do cool shit like you is my whole fucking point of this bullhorn. There needs to be. We're not it. There isn't one. But if we could get enough goofy people like me and Jesse doing this, there's potential to have a few of us for sure. That the mayor ain't coming on here. You know what I mean?
oh, now Mayor Lyrion, come on!
I bet you could get Mayor. I bet you could get Lyrion on here.
I bet she'd love floating.
Yep.
Well, dude, from a floating perspective,
I'm gonna put in
and
some feelers.
everything. We'll make it work, and we'll start.
I'm gonna make it happen.
Vince,
Here's the
producer
thing
Vince.
So this is a good time to have this. Well, it's actually happening, but we would have to like take this serious.
Oh
No, you wouldn't.
No, I mean not serious.
Mayor
Like if the
Lyrion
mayor's
dressed
coming on
up
here,
like that soccer lady, man, she's cool.
I'm saying
a float, man.
I'm saying you listen to
She'll be all
Vince.
loosey goosey.
You listen to Vince
Like,
talk
we should
about.
probably get those LED light fits on the streets. We got a pothole problem.
I know, right? Oh, shit.
The side
Who
streets
doesn't
are
love a
icy.
pothole?
The side streets are so icy in Lincoln, dude.
Get out there.
But but you would
Fix
have
it.
to accept some form of responsibility to be a part of that bullhorn, is what I'm saying.
Hmm?
And there's the potential to do that. And I think if enough people are willing to want there to be a bullhorn, then hey, put enough people out there to give it. And that's what I want to happen. I'm not saying I want it to be us. I want it to happen. And then I want you people to be going through the bullhorn that go above the bullhorn and become the avenue to.
We are the bullhorn.
Yeah.
But you
right now.
become-
It's the sounds coming out.
Yeah, for sure.
Of our
100%.
bullhorn.
But that people need to know that is there.
Right, yeah.
People need to know that, things exist.
And that takes money,
Uh,
people. You got to become a patron.
Well, just in general, it goes back to the whole theme of just in general. Half the people that are going to listen to this didn't even know about Basement Creators. Half the people listening to this didn't know about Students for Sensible Drug Policies.
Mm-hmm.
Just things like that. There needs to just be more articulation of the potential for ideas and for long-form discussions, understanding avenues, what it is, the philosophy behind it, why it matters, why it might not matter. And that's where I think we're at now. And so having somebody like you that already has this kick-ass thing,
Dude.
and nobody knows about it,
And you
it's
got-
only going to explode.
You got the
thing
mind.
I
is,
hope so,
yeah,
man.
it's like it's already good and nobody knows about it.
But I think you're selling yourself short too.
The podcast?
The float, man.
Oh no, dude! I'll never
Dude.
sell the floats short though. I think floating is the most incredible thing in the world.
And floating is incredible.
Yeah.
You have built the platform to allow people to come and experience what
Yeah.
you find incredible.
Yeah.
Now it's up to people to, tell their friends, tell their family to support these spaces. And full transparency, I'm a hypocrite to a certain extent because I would love to come here more often, but I find myself, after a long day's work, man, I'm a very introverted person.
Yeah.
You know, it took a lot for me to hit that live stream button that first night we went live.
You're such a
and
natural, dude. That's
You are
so
natural.
dude,
weird.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm glad that I appear that way because I feel like I would much rather just be at home doing my own thing.
Well, thank you for getting out of your shell a little
You
bit,
know.
Vince, because, man, like, we needed you.
But I think there's a lot of people who are like that and support local, man. That is so huge. These interesting, cool, unique ideas and businesses that are able to flourish and bubble up. They can't bubble up unless you have the support of the community
100%.
around you. Whether that's Lost and Float, whether that's local bakeries here in town who are doing some really sweet things.
Dude, all the CSAs, everything. There's so much.
There are so many things that are happening.
roaster.
Hyper local.
Coffee roaster.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
dive into the
it's
coffee
true.
roaster for just a few minutes, you
Please
know,
do.
because
It's so true.
I mean, the coffee roaster has been in business. This is our 25th year in business.
No shit.
We hit 25 years this year.
So your father-in-law started.
My father-in-law started the coffee roaster. And then, dude, I don't know, it's 8 to 10 years ago. I was working at a job that I hated. And so Sam's dad was like, I'm looking to retire. And I was like, well, you can't sell that business because you have 20 years of people who have followed you and teach me how to roast, teach me how to do what you do. And I didn't drink coffee before I started roasting coffee.
No shit.
Nope.
That's awesome.
So my appreciation for coffee started with understanding the roasting process and drinking just black coffee of my own
Fuck
Hell
yeah.
making.
That's cool.
So anytime I have coffee outside of my own coffee,
Right.
it's an experience that I was never really brought into, you know, beyond.
Those infidelities.
Right. And there's some incredible coffee roasters out there, including us. But, you know, we were talking about it a while back where it's just trying to shift people out of their normal routine and whatnot. Talk about being handed a 20-year business with a customer base that has been with you for all of those years, and then saying, we got to make some changes because where we're at now, we're not growing. We're not doing anything. I mean, Sam's dad, his whole idea was, I'm going to bring better coffee to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm going to grow it. And if you want to drink my coffee, great. If you don't, go somewhere else.
He was growing the coffee as well?
No,
Oh,
not
okay,
grow
sorry.
it. Grow the business. And he didn't
Right.
even really want to grow the business. He just wanted to bring coffee to
Yeah.
Lincoln, and whoever came, and
Cool.
whoever didn't. So whatever.
Yeah.
But we obviously knew where it's like, you got to do a little more than that. So we do like fundraisers now. Right now we're in Crescent Moon, we're in Rabbit Hole Bakery, we're in Destinations Coffee House.
No kidding.
Lots of different other businesses here in town. We are. Suppose I'll break news.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
New Vibe is going to actually start carrying our coffee
right
now.
on.
Why do I know? I know who they are. What
That's
do
like
they
a
do?
yoga studio, right?
New Vibe is a coffee house on like 70th and Pioneers. Then they also have a.
Been there.
Yep.
Yes. I know who they are.
They do a lot of smoothies.
Yep. Yep.
And their
yep.
smoothies are on point.
I know I've been there.
But they want to switch up their coffee.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Nice.
So we're in the
Dude.
process of figuring that out.
Shout out New Vibe.
Do you have the ability to supply that kind of high levels of coffee
Mhm.
beans? Cool.
Yep. We probably bring in. I bring in probably 5,000 pounds of coffee
Okay.
every month.
Every month. Where, do you tell people
Maybe
where you get
less.
it from, or is that like some proprietary thing?
We have importers that we work with
Yep.
around the country.
But yeah, like your special.
But then we also have a few direct trades. One of our direct trades is with Costa Rica.
Okay.
And
love Costa
those farmers actually lived in Seward, Nebraska.
what?
Oh,
So
shit.
we know those farmers personally.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. You've been there. It's the place to go.
That's what I understand.
Fucking move to Costa Rica.
So I understand. Also my understanding, they have an incredible healthcare system for tourists.
For tourists, like if you get hurt,
You get hurt in Costa Rica,
You're good.
man.
they're
you're
just
covered.
such sweeties, dude. I can't
You're
even.
covered.
It doesn't surprise me. They're the nicest people ever.
That's amazing.
It's fucking Pura Vida, Pure Life or whatever. Like They are the nicest people.
I haven't had a chance to go to any of these countries of origin yet, just because I can't leave.
Yeah.
I'm the gears. I'm the gears making these machines go, man.
That's true.
If I were to leave,
Shit.
so that's something that we're going to work really hard in 2020 is figuring out a way for me to be away from the roaster and focus more on some of the creative branding elements. And Sam, just incredibly organized. She handles all of the business side
all
of
that
things.
stuff.
Yep, she is incredibly talented with organizing on that front. I'm more or less the guy who's like, here's a badass idea, we should do it. You know. We had a little bit of a hardship that over the last 2 years, we were going to transform the store because we're just a roastery. We were going to transform the store into more of a coffee house vibe and try to figure that out.
What was the idea? Why? What was the idea behind that?
Well, the fact of the matter is, you can make a lot more money.
The markup
off of coffee drinks.
Huh.
But man, that changes everything.
Changes everything. So we knew that, we can't run a traditional coffee house in our space.
Okay.
So me being me, I went out and found there's a company in Denmark called the Top Brewer.
Okay.
And if go look at this right now, it's incredible. You just look up the Top Brewer. It's from Scanomat. It's a fully automatic espresso machine.
How much is that
iPad controlled.
Jesus.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. Super cool. We went through the whole process.
Right.
We got it in. Unfortunately, it never fully worked. It would always leaked. And so we kind of had to backpedal and kind of figure things out because
God, those things gotta cost like ridiculous amounts of money.
I mean, it's not cheap.
Okay.
However,
Yeah.
it's a barista.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So how much
No,
is
it's a
payroll for a
barista.
barista?
No, you're right. It's a
You
very,
know.
very good point.
It's while it might not be cheap, it's probably 1 year.
That's a good point.
And it's not that we didn't want to pay somebody; it's that we literally didn't have the physical space.
Yeah, you couldn't
to
have a
have
coffee
more
shop
people
either.
doing that.
Yeah.
So we needed essentially a quick way to serve people drinks.
So you were looking for the space, staying in the same spot, found
Yep.
this automated barista.
Another way for us to not necessarily compete with the coffee houses that we
it'd be
already
different.
supply coffee to. It had to be different. It had to be unique. And it just didn't work out. So we've backpedaled now, and we're now focusing more on our fundraising program. So like we built out a fully robust fundraising program called the Liftoff program. And it's the whole purpose of the Liftoff program is to essentially provide an opportunity for people to lift off their projects. So like,
How the fuck do you just do that?
you think of a way to split revenue with a product that you have.
Okay.
And so in the year 2020, my goal is to create at the Coffee Roaster something without giving away too much of what's happening, because it's not fully it's not fully figured out. I want to give you guys the ability to lift off this podcast by providing people a high quality local product.
I dig it.
And I want you guys to be able to do that without having any understanding of what coffee is.
Yes. Yeah, it's smart.
Good, because I drink shit coffee.
Well, we should change that.
We should change that.
I don't know. I assume it's shit coffee.
What do you drink? What do you drink?
Cafe Bustelo from Mexico. It's like espresso.
You just
coffee.
get it across the street right there.
Yeah,
Walk
it's
Not
in
a
there.
that.
It's like that yellow bag, that vacuum sealed.
Hy-Vee.
They don't sell it. I don't think they sell it. They sell it at Walgreens. They sell it. They actually sell it at the dollar store for $1. It's like a vacuum sealed bag of this Mexican coffee. You're looking at me right now like I'm a fucking. I just told the coffee roaster guy that I fucking buy dollar store coffee.
Oh my god!
So-
$1. I didn't even realize they had coffee.
That's
at the
what's
dollar
scary,
store.
right?
best
If you think
fucking
about that
tasting coffee,
markup
dude.
value, it doesn't even make sense.
It's like a vacuum sealed bag of espresso grounds, and
It's
it's
gotta
the
cost me
darkest. It's
$1
the
to do that.
blackest of the blackest black. It tastes so. It tastes like life. It's
I
bitter.
mean,
It's bitter.
You, Jesse, strike me as someone who like deeply cares about like human
I do.
life.
I do.
I want you to
He's
think.
gonna fuck you.
I want you to think.
He's gonna fuck you so bad.
How many fucking fingers are in my coffee?
I want you to think about how much of that dollar went back to those farmers.
None.
Probably
It costs more than $1 to get that there.
I don't even know, man. $1 is under the C market stock value of what coffee is.
so crazy.
I don't know how you could sell coffee for $1 and make money.
I have no idea how they do it either.
You literally couldn't.
That's what I'm saying.
If I were to buy
it's
right,
a front,
It
dude.
should be illegal.
It's a front.
It's
man.
probably illegal
if I
somewhere
were to
along
buy,
the
if
line.
I were to buy the cheapest coffee on the market right now, it'd probably be $1.57 a pound.
Dude,
That's the cheapest, and you just bought $1
I'd buy it at $1
at the
bags,
dollar
dude,
store
I don't
in
know.
a different country.
It's so good.
It's like the
It's so
I bet you
good.
it's
Yes,
not that.
I like it. I
All right.
like other coffee.
I want you to come in and we're going to cup that.
Let's do it.
We're gonna
let's do it. I'll do the
We're gonna-
fucking Pepsi challenge.
We're going to
video
cup that
motherfucker.
side by side.
We'll video that, man. We'll bring you into the coffee roaster.
That'd be fun, dude.
We should do that. We should like
Bring the
do a little.
podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it,
dude.
man.
Let's do a mobile podcast. We'll bring Sam on.
Yeah,
Sam,
there we go.
Fuck
That'll
yeah.
be Sam's guest.
Okay.
I'll be
Yeah.
the one setting up that blind cupping.
Yeah, we gotta.
And
ask
then
him
when
that.
Wait.
and then we'll get on camera when Jesse slurps down that moldy mud water
Life's
that
no
he's been
longer
drinking.
bitter.
I like
Right.
it. I like it. It's the
So
You're just gonna taste those farmers' bitter tears.
that's what you're tasting.
That's
you,
it.
You terrible man. You.
Come on, man.
I know. I'm
You're
not
better than
supporting
that.
local. I know I'm terrible, but I don't know
You're
any
not
better.
even not
really,
supporting
dude.
local. You're supporting like
I'm
death,
supporting the
like
cartel,
slave camps, like
Walgreens.
China underwear.
terrible.
$1.
I would love to do the Pepsi challenge with you.
Absolutely.
That would be,
My
but
terrible-
we got to sneak that one in there. So we don't want to buy another bag of it. You're gonna have to bring your own, man, because none of us are gonna put our hands.
I've got
in
a
that
little
dirt.
left at home. I won't buy
Just a
another
little
one.
bit.
Yeah.
I won't buy another one.
We'll bring it in quick so it's still fresh.
If you pick that one, man, I'm putting $10 down. Like, damn it, you're gonna
Oh,
pick
man.
the cafe.
Yeah, I'm probably
Bustelo.
gonna split the Bustelo. It's just like I don't know, man.
So like that's what I like.
So
'Cause
what's your
I could
roast,
tell.
Vince? You switch it up?
yeah,
Is it
yeah.
like a beer?
I switch it up, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's how I am.
I love our Brazil.
We got a guy,
Brazil.
our
Brazil.
coworker
Awesome.
that works here. He is
Uh,
a coffee
Do you know Jesse Brady?
nut, dude.
I
You-
don't,
Maybe.
if you're
That
looking
dude's
for
a
a guy,
freak.
man, this guy, he's just like, he knows where all his coffee's brewed or grown. I mean,
He
all-
brings in contraptions here. We're like, how the fuck do we make coffee with this man? Well, this
Yeah,
one's
dude, he
this is a
just-
French
he's a
press.
coffee
This is a regular
freak,
coffee
dude.
machine. This thing does that. And I'm like,
Yeah, he turns his nose up at my Bustelo, dude, for sure.
He's like,
yeah, man.
no.
what is it? You just got done floating and you're putting that in your body?
Right, dude? It's just,
He treats
Man,
coffee
you're-
like water.
You're
though.
elevated up here, but that thing you're putting in your mug, it is grounded.
His
finely grounded.
it is
actually. It's
finely
espresso.
grounded. How do you
his
brew it?
adenosine receptors would need like 5 years and no coffee to go back to normal.
Oh, dude, he drinks it all day, every day.
He hasn't probably had real sleep in like a decade.
I don't think so, man. He's just like, oh man,
he's no joke, man.
Like nitro, fucking like
He
cold
goes
brews.
all over the place.
He's a nut. I love it, and
Yeah.
and so like he gives me a lot of shit, and he tries to open up my my perceptions on this, and I'm just like, man, let's just
We'll put it in Vince's hand, man, and we'll podcast it. I'm in. I think it's a good
Absolutely.
idea.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I can't wait.
We'll start a little vote and see what's gonna happen. I'm gonna vote. You're gonna pick your same old shit.
I know I have a
You might.
terrible taste. I ate coffee when I was a child.
There's not gonna be. I just think
Okay,
that coffee's gonna
okay.
have such a distinct taste.
I was just like,
I'm going to run to the restroom really quick,
Oh,
and while
shit.
I do that, I want you to give us a flavor profile of what that coffee tastes like, and then we'll end the podcast when I get back.
okay, okay. It tastes like, oh man, it's like when it comes out, it is like really thick too.
You should like do a little independent detective work and find out where that comes from, man.
Yeah,
Some serious money laundering going
Oh
on.
man! Every once in a while, I'll see like a
just feel bad.
speckle of something in there. I'm just like, I have no idea what this is. It can't be good for me.
Oh, it's a
It
fingernail.
might be human, but I'm drinking it. And,
Oh man,
and it's like
that is nuts though to think about. Like how big of a bag do you get from the dollar store for $1? Is it a pound?
probably. I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't pay attention. I just buy it because it's cheap and it's dark and it's delicious.
Cheap. So that's the profile. Cheap,
It's
dark, and delicious.
Velvety. It's like velvet. It's like a dark velvet,
Like and like when it comes out of my espresso maker, it's got those bubbles on top. Like
I'm just
like
picturing a
creme.
woman this whole time.
That's cool, man. Like I mean,
Velvety and
it's-
bubbles.
she's got it, dude. I would call this coffee a she.
Doesn't it have a dude on the front of the bag with like a big hat?
No, it's just a yeah.
Just
it does actually. I forgot. It does have that like Mexican hat like on there. Oh man, this I don't know, man. Like it's
That would be fun. So we got enough portable equipment. We could go set up
We
over there,
definitely
do a little taste challenge.
it'd be so fun.
I think it'd be fun.
And it's
We should
just,
do it.
I don't know, man. Like I just like coffee to remind me of how bitter life really is. Like I don't want foo-foo coffee. I want coffee that's gonna kick me in the teeth and make me go, oh my god, I'm awake. Like I'm up now.
He sold it pretty well.
I look forward to listening back and hearing it. What that
This is officially the longest podcast of our
This
lives.
is the longest podcast we've gone over
All right.
2 hours. The battery died on the camera. We are done.
the battery is dead on the camera.
Yeah, it's done.
How long ago did we do this video?
About 20 minutes. I have no idea, to be honest. I've been just.
I told
You were
Sam,
the worst.
Dude, I fucked up. I used the third party battery this time. I didn't use
The Canon?
the Canon battery.
Well, you gonna take us out on a song, or what are we doing? How are we
No,
going
I got
on this?
another song. I'm gonna put
Okay,
on the end of the
throw it
track
right
here
on.
for us. So,
All right.
yeah, Vince, you want to drop any plugs before we take off, man? Basement Creators.
Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Basement Creators Network, patreon.com/Basement Creators Network. If you want to support us and continue to, do what we do. CoffeeRoasterLNK.com. LNK is in Larry Nicole Kidman, not INK. People get that confused all the time. Like, Coffee Roaster Inc. And it's like, no, not incorporated. First off, there's not a K in that. It's a C. So Coffee Roaster LNK, or come and see us. We're at 50th and Old Cheney right there on the corner. If you can't find us, type us into your Google app. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button for these guys.
Yes.
If you're listening to your podcast app on iTunes, Spotify, whatever, I want you to hit that review button. I want you to leave a little review.
whiz.
Let me know what you think of Jesse, period, as a comment. Very curious to see what kind of first off, I bet there's one person that makes it to this point.
Right.
And I want to bet that person's Grady McGuire. So thank you so much, Grady,
Hey,
for
Grady.
listening.
Shout out Grady.
Ruined my rug.
Shout
I
out.
can't wait to get that text, man. Hey, man, I listened to the end. It's going to happen.
Still
And thank
bitter
you
about
guys.
this rug.
Dude, thank you.
This was awesome. Support Lost and Float. These guys are incredible. Come here, do some floating, do some cryo tanking, man. This is seriously a treasure to the community.
Thanks,
It's
brother.
You
totally
are a
unique.
treasure, man.
Appreciate
Vince,
that,
thank
man.
you. And
I'm just a dude doing what I do, man.
anytime you want to come back on this podcast,
Yeah, come
you
back,
you have
dude.
a home
I would-
right
I
here.
would love to be
Always.
back
That's
whenever.
what's cool. Like, honestly, we have no objective, really, man. Yeah, so get us while, we're untainted.
Well, we don't know what we're doing.
Just fucking around. So then, that being said, 2 days from now, they can just go watch you do some magic, right?
Yes, we're with Andy Pappas and
I've
the
heard that.
Jukebox Euros.
Jukebox Euros.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right on, man.
Wednesday night, 8 o'clock,
Every
That's
Wednesday
down
night.
by Indian Village, yeah?
Indian Village.
Okay.
13th and High Street.
Not
there,
high,
right?
No.
13th
It's that'd
and
be
It's
like,
that's where the plaza starts. That's where like the plaza starts.
It's
yeah,
around there.
You'll find it if you
I
go to
don't know.
13th and High, for sure.
I feel like if you're living in 2020 and you're trying to find things using anything other than Google
I couldn't
Maps,
agree with you more.
What the fuck are you doing?
you're probably
If you're
not
one of
listening to
them,
this podcast.
If you're 3 hours deep into this podcast and you're one of them, I apologize, but the fuckers that call us,
I
back,
only
so
use
where
atlases.
are you at?
Oh, dude.
It's hilarious.
We get people that call
Yeah,
us and
we
are
do.
just like, I can't
2 more
find
blocks,
you.
take a left, and they're not old. They're I respect the old
Dude,
ladies that doing
some
what they
people
do.
haven't got
We've been
it,
in business. We've been in business for 25 years.
They
man.
are doing less
you know
better
what's
than
going
I
on,
know.
man.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
I know.
Well, guys, we love you. Thank you. Seriously, support the Basement Creators. Vince is doing awesome things. He's going to continue to do awesome things, not only for musicians, but for the community. Come back and listen to us next time, man. We love you guys.
Yep.
Peace.
So
Bye-bye.
That was fun, dude.
Oliver, did I or did I not give you the money to pay on the phone? I wasn't paid.
Well, I gave it to him to pay it for me.
Then what did you do with it?
I gave it back to him. You gave it to me? Yeah, I gave it to you to pay my room and board. Then you gave it to her. Reckon that better?
Do you mean to say that the money that he gave to you, that you gave to him, that he gave to me, was the same money that I gave to him to pay him?
Well, if that was the money that you gave to him, to give to me to pay to him, it must have been the money that I gave him to give to you to pay my rent, didn't I?
Mr. Finlayson, I owe you an apology.
I'm $37.
Then this money must belong to you. You big dumbbell, I can't trust you to do a thing. And as for you, I have a good mind to throw you out.
You can't do it.
I can't do it.
No, because I paid my room and board in advance, and I gave it to him. What do you mean you gave it to me? That was the money that she gave to me, and I gave it to you to give to him. Then you gave it back to me, and I had to give it to her to give to him. Was that the money that she gave to him that I gave to you? Why,